Second? Yeah, turn your mic on if you want to talk. Everybody should just turn it on. All set? All right, welcome to the Ware Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. We'll open the meeting. It is 6:33 with a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight we're going to be hearing from Chief Moore from the Ware Police Department, his budget and capital requests, and later on we're going to hear from DPW Director Jason Fisk for the same. Chief Moore, take it away.
All right, good evening, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving. I've simplified my budget this year by just doing the lines which we've had changes to, either increases or decreases. However, my entire budget is available online under the Chiefs tab, on the Ware Police Department page if anyone who's viewing would like to look at it, as well as the abbreviated version tonight. The board has a packet with 3 documents. It's the first one, so if you want to rip it off to keep track, it's the increases, decreases, which I've divided up into non-discretionary increases, decreases, or discretionary increases or decrease, or there's going to be increases. I've also prioritized everything that's just discretionary, followed by the entire budget. The lines are broken up. The orange line is going to be the mandatory non-discretionary increase. The yellow lines are just discretionary increases, as well as a notes page with all the PowerPoint presentation you're getting ready to see. So have at it. I always like to start with a little bit of what Ware Police Department does. We've tracked the last 19 months, and the reason we've used the last 19 months, that's when we got a media request to start identifying the name of individuals who were arrested, as well as the residence location of where they're arrested. So you'll see on the second slide where I actually pulled that data, because we broke down DUI arrest into Ware residents and non-residents, and actually there's good news on that slide. Calls for service, we are 1 position short, just to let everybody know. We do have 11 out of 12. We have 1 vacancy, which we're in the hiring process currently for. We should have that hopefully filled by the end of next month. But calls for service have increased. You'll see a trend line in each of these charts. This is going to be your top left. With the calls for service over the 19 months, of course, motor vehicle stops. This shows proactivity of the officers. Directed patrols are also increasing. These focus on primarily citizen concerns. We track those monthly. If you haven't seen our monthly publication, that's available on our website also. On one of the pages, it lists every citizen concern, as well as what activity we've accomplished to try to address that concern. But generally, the trend line is up for directed patrols, which addresses those citizen concerns. Of course, with motor vehicle stops going up, citations issued is going up. However, 82% of motor vehicle stops are only resulting in warning. That's a good benefit of living in a small community. We're not out there to just bring the hammer to everybody. Our primary function is to educate and then take the appropriate law enforcement action when it's necessary. And it's necessary when people are going over 15 miles an hour, passing on double solid lines, or driving under the influence. When reporting to the New Hampshire Department of Highway Safety, when we compared FY23 to FY24, we saw a 23% reduction in accidents. So that's huge, huge. If you're not aware, last month we got an award from the New Hampshire Department of Highway Safety for this type of activity, but it primarily focused on our DUI enforcement actions. Proportionally, we are the highest community out there enforcing DUIs in New Hampshire. We average just under 5 arrests per officer per year. Salem was the largest community, and they were just over 2 arrests per officer comparatively. DUI arrests overall are trending down. We like that because that shows people are out there seeing what we're doing, they're getting educated, and we want to see that line going down, particularly when it's Ware residents. So we're having an impact here. People who are just passing through the area who don't know we're doing this are still trending up. So this is what's driving our numbers. People from not in the area out here driving intoxicated on our roadways. So we are impacting it by accidents. So that's a lot of good information. Anybody have any questions on that? Kind of an overview of what we do and how we're impacting information. All right, on to the budget. So like I said, I'm going to just focus on increases, decreases. I will call out the line number when we get to that. Just as an overview, we have an increase, which was a voter-approved CBA. That affects all the salary and benefits. They're going to get, this is year 2 of the CBA, 5% this year, 5% next year. There is a reduction, line 235, for a part-time administrative assistant. I haven't used a part-time administrative assistant in 5 years. We are keeping $1 in the line just in case something ever comes up, but I don't need the other $90. So this is a discretionary increase, and if you look on the discretionary increases, this particular one is going to be number 5, 5 of 8, but it's for a detective. Now, I do have one additional handout if anybody would like to see the full version of this letter. We have a lot of sexual assaults against children, particularly committed by family members in the town of Ware. This is a letter from the director of the Child Advocacy Center of Hillsborough County. She compared us to other communities, and what this organization, what they do is they perform forensic interviews on victims, juvenile victims of child sexual assault. They're highly trained, they do an excellent job and help really provide services to the victims. But in here, and I've got a copy if anybody wants a copy, the cases that Ware sees are much more severe than our neighboring jurisdictions. We've had people sentenced to decades in jail for the things we've done. Obviously, we have juvenile victims, so I can't talk about the cases. But what we're looking to do is actually propose a supplemental stipend in pay to designate an individual as a detective. That person would get advanced training as investigators. Investigations would primarily be assigned this role as well as other felony offenses. Luckily, we're in a very safe community. We're very pro Second Amendment, which is awesome. So our burglaries are quite low, our robberies are quite low, our homicides, our felonious assaults are quite low. Great community as far as safety. We just need to protect our juvenile victims. But this is somebody who could focus on that as well as any other felonies that we do have in the area. It's a low amount to bring this in, but this letter really emphasizes why that's needed. Again, this is number 5 on my discretionary requests. Anybody have any? Yes, sir.
This is just a pay grade increase for someone to become trained in this?
It is, yep. Pretty much. They'd still be an officer. There'd be not really a promotion, a position interview. We come up with the testing, everybody has an if it's approved, everyone has an equal opportunity to try to obtain the position. Because there's a pay incentive, there will be additional school incentives and
It's not a new hire, though.
No, it would not be a new hire. It's just an ancillary duty for an existing position. So since it's ancillary enhanced duties, we're trying to compensate that minimally. And what that does, that brings an officer position pretty much right up to a corporal pay level, is what it does. Yes, ma'am.
I know you can't talk about the intricacies of things, but can you tell me what's different about Ware versus our neighbors that we have such a high rate?
So I only have Ms. Sullivan's summary. I wouldn't have access to their case information. They would have it, and they said, and she states right in her letter, our cases are much more severe. Knowing 2 of our cases over the top of my head, I really wish I could tell you about them because this would be an absolute no-brainer. I think you've heard me say we have a group out there, Internet Crimes Against Children, where we can actually track the computer forensics evidence behind people sending different child pornography, what have you. New England is a higher rate than the rest of the nation, according to them. New Hampshire is a higher rate in New England, and Ware is a higher rate in New Hampshire. We have a lot of deviants in this community. I can tell you I've actually seen those computers at my old position. We had, at my old place of employment, we had 2 computers, and you could watch them ping 24/7. Ping, 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 and that's an IP address every time it pings of somebody downloading child pornography. Pow, pow, pow. Everyone could be a search warrant. It's just too overwhelming. So
So this position would help to investigate those?
they would be assigned as a task force member on the ICAC team. We've had that before. The last one who was on that team was Officer Hatch, who went to the Sheriff's Department and who is now lieutenant with the Sheriff's Department. We haven't had anyone to step up in this type of position, so this is an incentive to, and we do have a couple people in mind who we do think would put in for it, but kind of incentive to do a little bit more to help the community a little bit more because it's needed.
Do any of our neighboring towns have any resource availability to offer help to kind of, work partner with them?
So that's kind of what the ICAC team is. The Sheriff's Department kind of oversees it, but then you have task force officers who come from multiple jurisdictions and they all work together. Say if they're going to execute a search warrant, then they'll bring them in one day or something. They'll go over it, they'll go to the house, execute the search warrant. We do quite a few of those here. And everyone in that organization will help execute the search warrant, secure the premise, gather any evidence, process it. So yes, we do. Yes, sir.
This is the total of salary,
With benefits.
insurance, benefits, Medicare, everything?
Yes, sir.
All inclusive, okay,
All inclusive.
yep. Thank you.
All right. 321 police record storage. So we've talked about this for a couple of years now. We were able to we have a lot of records which we're required to maintain by state RSA. Unfortunately, we were out of space at our current facility. We worked with the town administrator who made us some space downstairs, cleared it out. We were able to secure that space. We used this fund to secure the space, build a wall, build some shelves. We got our records in there. We built some more shelves this past year, and now we're done with this line, so this is a reduction.
Yeah, line numbers are at the top.
Would it be easier if I said the number every time?
That would be,
Yeah, and we're just going straight down the list. Just to let you know.
oh, perfect, thank you.
Yep. So this is, we're using line 249A, which is going to be a discretionary increase, and this is a lower one. This is number 7, as well as there's a second slide, which is going to be number 4. So officer wellness check, there is not a resource for this in any organization that provides it to us. And this is the direction most law enforcement's going to, because we're seeing a lot of officer suicide, a lot of mental health issues, stuff like that. So what this does, this pays a fee for every officer to meet confidentially. It's a mandatory meeting with a qualified mental health professional. Everyone's required to meet, so there's no stigma between any one person going to the individual. So you have to go to meet, you don't have to talk about anything. You can talk about football, but if there's something on your mind, this is your first resource, and he can get you, or she can get you into contact with the additional resources you need. Obviously, we've had different traumas here, including an officer who was shot in the line of duty. You know, when I first got here 5 years ago, he's disabled for the rest of his life, as well as another officer who was involved with the shooting, not to single them out, but we do have those type of incidents here. Having something where this is a resource, where it's a mandatory meeting, and if something's on your mind, that would help ensure the mental health of the officer and keep officers working here longer, not calling out sick. Anyone have any questions about this? Yes, ma'am.
Confidential, so does that mean the whole group does not know that somebody's going to go see and talk to somebody?
So everybody's required to go and talk, and you might see it's on the schedule, but you don't know whatever they talk about is
Okay.
client privilege.
Okay, great.
That's why it's mandatory for everybody to go, so there is no stigma. Oh, he's going to see the shrink.
Right, that's what I was
Yeah.
concerned
Mhm.
about.
Yep. All right, so that was number 7 of 8 on the discretionary increase. This was actually good information, because this is a science-based program. where I came from, the state of Virginia actually covers officer for any type of heart-related incident, even after you retire. You're covered for life or medical if you ever have a heart attack, any type of stress incident. You know, we're nowhere close to that up here. But if you look at law enforcement basic health statistics, the average age of a patient with a heart attack in law enforcement is 46 years, civilian is 65 years. Heart attacks under the age of 45, law enforcement 45%, civilian 7%. Average life expectancy of law enforcement 57 years, civilian 79 years. So what this does, and these guys have a website, the Head Start program is a pretty good website, it was very informative. It's a new system of cardiometabolic screening, which is proven to detect cardiovascular disease more effectively than standard screening modalities. What they do is they come take your blood and they check it for different types of, don't quote me, I think it was proteins and other stuff. They check your blood for indicators where you're a potential victim of some type of heart-related incident. And they've had scientifically based success on being able to detect that and then take proactive action. A few years ago, I figured out and this was years ago, 70 to 80,000 to replace an officer. So if we can keep officers working longer, it actually saves the town money. So this is a low expense comparatively. This was number 4 of the discretionary increases, but this is a really good program. And this is billed out at 15 officers. If I don't have that many officers, I only have 14, this would go down a little bit. But that's the most we would see, because it's billed out per, yes, sir.
Would this also be mandatory participation?
I don't think I could,
Okay,
because I'm requiring them to give blood.
sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I would highly encourage it,
Yeah,
but, yeah, and if they didn't participate, that would just go back.
yeah, okay.
Less stigma.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's billed as used, and
Correct,
you
yes, sir.
said the leftover would come back as unused?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Non-discretionary increase, so this is gonna be up top, line 341. That's not the right line. Line 250.
50, yeah.
Yep. Telephones. So we just went and switched vendors. We are getting new phone lines for both our internal number and our fax number, if you weren't aware. That'll be changing over in the next month. We switched that, and it reduced the cost of our bill by $1,600 annually. Unfortunately, what we have is we have our police vehicles inoperative due to needed repairs so much. We had to add air cars to our command vehicles, so they're available for use for patrol in case we need it. The air card for internet connectivity is not done by the computer, it's done by a modem actually mounted in the vehicle. So we have to pay about $500 annually to have that modem connected. And that also provides us with cell service. Well, it ties into internet-based phone calls if we need it. So it's an extra layer of connectivity so we can communicate. So although we reduced it, we still needed to increase the budget by $500 to cover that $480 for 2 vehicles annually, is why that was an increase. Anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Is the 1,600 reductions in some other line?
No, so it was originally 16,000. We reduced it by 1,600. It was going up a little bit anyway, just because it hasn't gone up since I've been here. And then we had to increase 480, and once we got done with all the adjustments, we went up $500. Generally, so everyone's issued a cell phone. We pay right around $1,050 roughly per month. It fluctuates minimally. We just went to this company, which I want to say it's under $200 a month, but don't quote me on that one because I've had so many numbers thrown at me. But that was in public session where we did that. So we did reduce the overall cost of our landline significantly. And then we pay for our air cards. In each car, we have 7 cars, so $480 per car. So when you add all those up, we're right under 16.5.
So in 2026, are we still looking because of an annual fee of needing an extra 500, so the overall change ended up slightly increasing?
In 2026, we'll be right around 16.5 for our entire fiscal year, once all the adjustments are made.
So it would be the same as this year, which is.
This year, we were over 16,000. This year, but you can't really look at it because we had to pay for the new company to bring in all the equipment, and that was charged to this line. I think that was right around $2,200. So,
Trying to see if there's like.
Yeah, I can do the math real
That
quick.
won't be rolling into next year, or if it'll be the same as this year.
so we're gonna be, this year, this year we were 16,000. Add 2,200 to that for equipment we used to do this switch, which saved us 1,600. But we were already over because phone prices have been increasing like everything else. So once we switched companies, saved that, had to add these two, which weren't this year. We've had those for a while, but that's why it went up. We're at 16,500.
So you guys made the switch and you need the approval for the wireless connectivity for the switch.
Oh, no, we've already done this. So anything below 5,000 I can approve. So I've approved this. We're doing it. It's coming out. It's just a matter of, transparency and accountability. This is what we're doing. This is why we did it.
Please.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Does this mean now that you don't have any dead zones?
We won't. So within hopefully the next month, our radio infrastructure will be completed. We just did contracts last night. We were able to get insurance on the two towers at Toby and Norris Hill for a very reasonable price of is just over $5,700. We got our second quote today was almost 3 times that, so we got a very good price on insurance because they're letting us on the towers for free. They just required a $5 million policy. So we signed those. I got those off today. We're just waiting on the contracts to go up or to come back, and then we can notify Two-Way to install equipment. They said that'll be about a 2-week process. They'll test everything, and then we are 99.9% connected everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, the tower's up on 177, so right by the East Station Fire Tower.
Okay.
Can't miss it. It's 120 feet up. It's kind of skinny, but it's up there.
Is this wireless service through those towers or through the wireless provider? Are they
Through the wireless provider.
two different things? They're not
They're
related?
they're through the phone company. We get the cards through the phone company.
Okay, all right. It's through
They
their,
send us not internet, but they send us SIM cards or something that we have to plug into the modem.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but that allows us connectivity.
For
And that's
the
how our
laptop.
computers,
Yeah.
that's how the laptops run. But we're also it also provides a wireless network where we can hook into it for phone calls if we need it to.
Yep, yep.
So,
Voice
yes,
over
ma'am.
IP.
So does this new system allow you, if somebody calls you, and most of us don't have your kind of service, if our call drops out and we're having an issue, can you track us?
So we have to have a reason to track you.
No,
Like
I
if
mean,
you were,
somebody's calling in an emergency and the call drops out because,
yes, we have ways to contact the phone company to ping your phone from the towers, and they'll give us an approximate location of where you're at. Like if you're out hiking in Clough State Park and you're supposed to be back at a certain time and, you didn't come up, we can ping your phone.
or you have an accident in your car, your phone doesn't work, 1 minute we're calling you and the next minute we're in the abyss, somehow you will find us.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll use every means at our disposal to find you as quickly as we can.
But this is new for us because we also haven't had this kind of accessibility.
Yeah, and it's crazy technology. I can tell you, based on my past experience, they have stuff called geofencing, where when we had a homicide, we can designate an area, put in keywords, shot 150, killed, and everyone who sent a social media post with any of those words, we'll get the information on. It's pretty, technology's crazy. Yeah. So, yeah, there are a lot of means that we don't need anything like that pro Second Amendment, like I was talking about, so we don't need that around here, but, we have a lot of tools at our disposal to help people when they need help. And obviously, that kind of process is gonna be overseen by a judicial, element, so. Any other questions? Line 251, so this was police dispatch. This was a non-discretionary increase. The Board of Selectmen just approved this. We went up $10,765. They gave their employees a 3% raise. They just put in a new server, which was $100,000, which was needed for IMC, which is our records management system. Microsoft cost the increase, and they're doing a data center refresh in 2026. And for those not aware, we are partnered with Gulfstown for dispatcher services. The way I had the Board of Selectmen look at this, $75,948. That's not buying you one dispatcher to work. If we had our own dispatch system, we'd probably need 6 dispatchers with hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment. This is a bargain for what we get. It's a large amount, but we get a lot for that amount, even though it was a substantial increase. So, anyone have any questions on that one? Line 252, this is the discretionary increase, and this is going to be number 6 out of 8. Police recruitment. So I have an adequate budget. We actually aren't having a lot of success getting candidates. We had 3 people interested. We have the vacancy pretty much all year, but there's not a lot of people out there who are really interested in doing this job anymore. This will fund, this will fund 3 people's full investigation with no law enforcement experience. The only reason it went up $300 is because the background investigations went up $100 per. If we hire a certified officer, this is the only step we need, is the background. When I first got here, we were using much more than that. I don't think we've used anywhere close to that. It's very low on my priority list. I have no problem if it's cut. We can make it happen with what we currently have. But the philosophy behind this is 3 full backgrounds per year is the philosophy. And this is what funds 3 full backgrounds. Anyone have any questions on that one?
Is there a normal number of times for investigating?
Like per candidate?
Well, is there an average, like other towns, or, like is 3 the normal, or 3 a little bit higher than average?
For us, it's kind of time-based. So when I started this job, you probably had 4,000 people for 200 positions in a year. They're going to weed them out on the PT test, the written exam, which is what we do first. We do the written test is the very first thing. We give them a PT test, and we give them an oral board. They pass all 3, they get a conditional offer of employment. They go to the background investigation, and the rest of them, medical, polygraph, psychological. If we get a bad review or a bad report on anything, they're kicked out immediately of the hiring process. I would say we have much better luck at retaining our employees than other jurisdictions. We've got 1 vacancy out of 12, which we do believe we're going to fill. Most departments are 20 to 30% at a vacancy rate. So they'd be 3 to 4 positions down if they were our department. So our guys work very well together. We like the community we work in. The CBA passing. One thing that spoke volumes to our officers is the CBA passed last year with more of a voter approval than the town employee raises. That wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. These guys have made strides building the trust of the community, and you can see by those trend lines we first presented. We like to earn that trust, and we like to think you're getting a good value for the taxes that you pay on it, because nobody likes paying taxes, including us. I live in Henniker, and that's one of the highest taxed areas, and I got to go where the wife wanted to go, and she wanted to live near Pat's Peak. So coming from Virginia, which is a commonwealth, I can tell you taxes are much higher. But yeah, anytime you want to check our department, feel free to ask any officer what I think of shipping fees, of fuel fees, because I will argue with people. I do my due diligence trying to save this town money. So And I will fire a vendor in a heartbeat if I think we're getting overcharged. I've got a list. But yeah, as far as other communities, we are doing much better than other communities retaining what we currently have and identifying a good fit for this community rather than just hiring anybody. So I don't expect to use 3 anytime soon. I don't expect to lose anybody. I do expect to fill a vacancy, and that, we haven't spent a dime of that this year. Now, December, we're running a lot of these tests, so I'll probably spend a third of that this year. The rest will go back to the taxpayer.
Just a reminder, does everybody, if you're speaking, make sure your microphone is on. Is it on? Press the button on the, so you see the green light up.
Because number 1 doesn't work. There you go.
Mike's?
You turn it on all you want, but not everything.
I'll share.
Yeah, they can't really hear you on the YouTube recording if your mic isn't on, so. Yeah, I was gonna point out, you haven't spent any of this line this year so far, but you're going to, hopefully.
Going to, we have our candidates scheduled for the written test the first week of December, the oral board, the PT test. He passes those 3, he'll go immediately into the rest of them. If they're scheduled this year, we'll get invoices for this year, and that whole process will be billed out. Based on what I've heard about him, I'm not expecting any issues. So it'll be a good hire. He'll be looking at a May Academy, not a certified individual. But yes, the remaining will go back, anything that wasn't spent.
Nice.
Okay. Line 353, this is a discretionary increase. This is number 3, accreditation. We have been revising policies for over a year now. We're scheduled to be completed in April of next year. Once we finish that policy review, we will be looking at New Hampshire accreditation, not CALEA accreditation. New Hampshire is just fine. The Chiefs Association is still working with Primex to try to identify a discount if you are accredited. But what this means is your policies have been reviewed by an outside source. They've been evaluated to make sure they're consistent with the best standards and practices in the law enforcement community. So if something goes wrong, if your officer was trained to standard, if your policies are consistent with the national standard, you're going to be in a real good position should there be a lawsuit. So this is all about liability mitigation. And this is it's a low cost. Currently, the accreditation fee, there is a grant for. When I asked them, because the captain and I attended a accreditation meeting, they don't know how long the grant will go for. If there's grants available, we'll obviously try to get this. This is the maximum what it would cost from what we see. If there's grants available, we're going to try to get grants.
Is this a recurring expense or just a one-time?
It is recurring.
$3,500,
Yes.
$34.99?
Yes, we have a third-party vendor who goes over our policies and keeps them up to date for us. You have to maintain the software because even if you're not in an accreditation year, you're constantly updating your proofs. So you're prepared for a review of your 114 standards during that review period. And then, of course, you do your accreditation fee. Yes, ma'am.
This is definitely by far much cheaper than CALEA. And to your point, the fact that we're working with the New Hampshire system, everybody's on the same page.
Yes, ma'am. Chiefs Association is pushing this big. The best thing about this type, everything's done online through Power DMS. There is no on-site work, so you're not paying to house assessors for multiple days in hotels and paying for meals and little gift baskets and all that other crazy stuff that they used to do. It's New Hampshire-based, local. Everybody knows we're not trying to blow the taxes, but we're trying to get a quality product for what we're paying for. So this is just liability mitigation.
Are there any examples of how this has benefited other towns or cities?
You get insurance discounts because it's recognized. So particularly with CALEA right now, CALEA has 2 stages of certification. My old department was just the first stage. They had 3 people dedicated to just updating their, so there's a lot of time commitment. This is a lower number of standards, so I'll be able to keep up with this along with my captain. We don't need to pull officers off to maintain this.
Has there been a return on investment calculation performed to mitigate risk?
Not that I'm aware of. Insurance companies might have done that, seeing how, but I mean, I don't think New Hampshire would be at that stage yet. They might have done it at federal level, based on some insurance companies. But like I said, when you get sued, the first thing they're gonna look at is, what were your policies? Was your officer following the policies? And if those two questions are yes, you're in a pretty good spot. And this just adds to that, because your policies were pre-reviewed and you took the additional step to make sure an outside source looked at them and said, yeah, these are good, consistent.
Have we had a recent lawsuit, and where?
Not by the police department.
Nope.
The last lawsuit I'm aware of was the officer who was shot. He settled for his injury, but that's the only lawsuit I'm aware of since I've been here.
And do you think this would have helped in that case?
No. He sued for his injury. He didn't really sue for, as far as I'm aware of. I wasn't part of the suit. I just saw the settlement fee, and I'm, of course, familiar with the incident. But it was just, he can't use his arm for the rest of his life. So it was an injury-based settlement rather than a negligence settlement. Yes, ma'am.
Prior to when we had Kalia, part of our issue was we didn't have consistency. Then with Kalia is very expensive, and you're going out of state, and you're going to conferences, gift baskets, the whole 90 yards. But I've talked to other towns, and the fact there is consistency through all the towns and the insurance companies, then the liability, since you have taken over, we have not had a lawsuit for our town. That is absolutely astronomical. So, you know, that's a big yay.
We hire good people who do the right thing and operate in the best interest of the citizens. So we try to make sure they're trained to the best of our ability. You will always hear me say our training budget is phenomenal for the size of our department. We have $15,000. We use every bit of it to make sure our people are trained. I tell them find their niche, and that was I'll bring this one out. We got Corporal Valero from a neighboring department, and when they're hired, I have a whiteboard in my office with all the different training disciplines, and I was like, we're a small department. Find your niche, become an expert, bring your expertise back to everyone else, and make everyone else an expert. You saw the DUI numbers. He became a DUI proactive employee. He went to A-RIDE. He's a DRE officer, which is drug recognition expert. He just got asked to be an instructor for DRE. His first year as a, I don't think he was DRE, his first year or second year here, he was in the, I want to say top 2 of the state with number of DUI arrests, and they flew him out to California to speak at the conference. So he has exemplified what a good training budget and an employee motivation can do to make this community a better place, because accidents have gone down 23% as a direct result of proactive activity by the officers and a focus on speeding in particular, because that's the biggest community complaint, at DUIs. So I ramble a lot, so if I didn't hit your question, just yell at me.
No, you hit it, because it's important for us to recognize that this has been, you've been here how many years?
A little bit over 5.5.
That's unusual for this town, so it's a really big win, because that was a big chunk of, budget that nobody expects, and boom.
Sure.
So that's a big win.
Yeah. Well, it's a team effort, so, and not just within the police department, the whole town hall and board of selectmen and everybody, because I pitch a lot of ideas at them, and they're usually pretty receptive. So, team effort, which we're glad you see the benefits of it.
Good? Okay. What happens if the budget goes down? You accredited with Kalia still?
No.
For a small amount, or are you not?
Dollar in the line. I got rid of, when I first got here, we had 5 officers who could work the street. Kalia is very labor intensive to keep up with their standards. We couldn't do it, so I went to the board, asked to drop Kalia We got rid of the line, so that's why there's only $1 in the line right now. The account's still open, but it used to be, I think, about 8,000, 8,500. So yeah, that's what it was. But then on top of the 8,500, that was just for CALEA. When you had to do your accreditation, you had to come up with more money to bring those assessors here and give baskets and dinners and all the other stuff.
So the department would not be accredited next year with anybody?
Not unless the budget passes.
Yeah, if it's a default budget.
Correct, yes,
there's
no.
need for that, unless you find it somewhere, but yeah.
When's the last time we were accredited?
2019 or 2020, one of the two.
Good question.
Yeah. They were level 1, which is the low level CALEA, when I first got here, and like I said, based on staffing, we couldn't do it, so we dropped it. And had to focus on the basics. And basics are done, now we can start focusing on higher standards again. Any other questions? Non-discretionary increase, police dues, so we joined the Central New Hampshire Special Operations Unit. They're our resource for high risk on critical incidents. Pretty much we have 3 different stages. We're the initial response should anything critical go on. These guys are all local. When we looked at us joining the Special Operations Unit, we looked at the Hillsborough County Special Operations Unit. However, their equipment is stored in Londonderry, which is 45 minutes away. Central New Hampshire Special Operations Unit, even though most of the departments are Merrimack County, their equipment's stored in Concord, so we have a 20-minute response time. So we get there, we hold the initial scene, they get there, take over for us, because they're training at a higher level, and then state police will come in and take over if they need it. But it usually will take, state, I'm not even, I believe it comes from their headquarters, but I'm not positive where their command, or their personnel, but I do know state police are 20 to 30% short-staffed, the last I heard, plus they've got additional assets up on the northern border, so they've got people dispersed quite throughout New Hampshire too. But this increase is a direct result of their fees are going up.
30%?
I don't
Does that have-
have control, I just get the notice,
No, I
hey,
know.
this is what we're charging.
Yeah. Should that be expected every year?
No, I did ask that. They haven't had an increase in quite some time because their letter
Alright.
pretty much started, we're sorry, but we can no longer hold
All
off
right,
on.
That's a catch-up.
Yeah,
Alright.
it was a catch-up.
That explains it.
Any other questions about this one? Police BWC media storage, non-discretionary increase, so the board has already approved this one. I had 2486 in our budget. We signed a 5-year agreement on this. This locks in the new price. This is for licensing and media storage for 15 body-worn cameras. It doesn't include the equipment. We'll talk about a warrant article for the equipment later. But we would have to maintain this agreement or we would get sued because we wouldn't be able to provide discovery. Because if we arrested somebody, had body-worn camera, didn't have the licensing to access the video, to be able to send it to defense counsel, we're getting sued. So luckily the board saw that, they agreed to the new proposal, and this is already in the works. Anyone have any questions on that?
Is that more cameras or just a new contract?
So this is just the licensing and media storage.
That's new? No, oh, well, it's a 70% increase, so I'm just, what's the, why the jump? What part of it is the big jump? Just
Axon
that much
is-
more money?
Yeah. Big company,
We're not-
lots of commercials.
We're not doubling the number of units or anything like that?
No, so this has nothing to do with equipment. This is just the media storage. We did not increase our media storage. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we pay for 3 terabytes of storage. If we needed another terabyte, it's not that much, couple $100. But then the licensing for each individual, we have 4 pro licenses, and those are pretty much for our prosecutors and our supervisors, so they can pull video, send it to defense counsel, who they need to. 2 prosecutors, 2 supervisors, everyone else has the basic license where they can just review their own video.
But it's 15 cameras worth of media now, or this year?
Yes.
It is. It's
Yes.
same number of same number of capacity,
Yes.
basically, but
We typically, so I've got this pretty much in life cycle management. We typically buy 3 cameras per year because they have a 5-year life cycle. I am noticing, in particular on my camera, the batteries are lasting half a shift now because some of them need to be replaced. But again, we're good. it'll be a low-cost warrant article. It's like $6,000 to put an additional 4,000 in for 3 body-worn cameras per year and 1 docking bay per year, and that'll keep us where we need to be.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? Discretionary increase, line 269, this one is number 2. So, working with the town vendor, I was told the life cycle on desktop computers was 7 years. We have 10 computers in the station. We are extremely computer dependent on everything we do. Everything we do is digital media.
That's a stretch, 7.
Yeah, he told me, nope, shouldn't have told you 7, should have been 5. I was like, well, okay, 5, then I need 2. So this is pretty much adding 1 computer to the budget per year. As well as live scan. We talked with the board about this. We got an APHIS machine on grant. That's the digital fingerprint. When we arrest somebody, we have to enter their information onto the live scan machine. This is a program which transferred that information over to the IMC program, so we don't have to type everything twice. So it saves us like an hour per arrest. So this is, well, that's a $1,400 expense. And I want to say the computer, I estimated at $1,200. They're usually pretty cheap, but that's why they last 5 years. So, anyone have any questions on that one? But I was way over budget on this line. I had 4 computers go down just this year. It's a crazy year. Usually I'd lose 1 or 2, but 4 this year. Any questions on that? IMC server maintenance. So last budget that was approved, I watched this for 3 years and I dropped this line. Sure enough, it went back up. So this is our records management. This is our investigative tool. Both of them went up. We're going from 8,550 to 10,260. We used to be, I want to say, above that. I dropped it down to 8,500 and now we're back up where we were. Murphy's Law. I do believe it dropped, and I didn't realize it's number of user based. So it probably dropped because we were short staffed, and now that we're back to nearly fully staffed, that's why it went back up. I didn't catch that one. I believe that's what it was. Anyone have any questions on that? Photocopier service, so a non-discretionary increase of $30. We got a brand new printer, which is cheaper than maintaining our old printer. If we maintained our old printer copier, the contract would have gone up by a few $100s. They sold us a Japanese printer, which is great, and our fees only went up $30. So, anybody had any questions about that one? Reduction in police fuel vehicles. So the fuel rate set by the BOS, 8,500 gallons is estimated at $3.25 a gallon. We are driving approximately 125 to 135,000 miles annually. To help offset this, back in June, I gave $2,000 back out of the detail fund. I'll probably do that again in December. I'm just waiting for the final numbers, and I should have another $2,000 back to help offset the cost of fuel and repairs and stuff like that. In addition to repairing vehicle 2, which the board approved, we're using detail funds to fix that vehicle, which was almost a $5,000 transmission. So, yes, ma'am.
You've got the gas at $3.25. That's high.
That's what the board estimates it at.
They put a
That's
buffer
just
in.
what they set the rate at.
They put a buffer in there in case it goes up again.
Oh,
It's an
okay.
average.
And that's tax-free too.
Right.
That,
I
Beth,
just filled mine up for $2.90, so.
There's a forecast
May not-
projection
may not
that
stay
they'll
there.
take
May
into.
go down further, who knows?
Yeah.
But you'll return it to us if you don't
oh
spend
yeah,
that, right?
I can show you what I return every year. It used to be, when I was short-staffed, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not quite there. I think I'm around 40 this year, if I'm not mistaken.
And this is gas. There's another price for diesel forecast. So
Right.
the DPW has both, fire has both.
Yeah, we have no
You
diesel.
just have gas. Yeah.
No electric?
No,
Thank you.
yeah, no. Only if we ever went to like a national nuclear system.
Yeah. Wireless nuclear.
Yeah.
Wireless.
Police vehicle repairs. So we are way over budget on this one. Our Dodges are not holding up. This is old information. We just got word that vehicle 3, which is our oldest Dodge, will also need a new transmission. However, it is still drivable, so we're only going to use it for police details until it
Okay.
collapses, or hopefully we're getting another Tahoe approved, and vehicle 3 will go to auction where it's still driving. But the Dodges eat my budget up. So I think I did these back in September. The repairs to the Dodges were $12,000 year to date in 2024. Last year, the average repair cost per Dodge was $3,900. I'm at $4,237. That was without fixing number 2, which we're doing a $4,300 transmission repair on. Yeah, to 2. It's currently, and we just had 3 evaluated for another transmission. Now, this is also, and I'm going to mention this because this number astounded me. Dodge does not have an aftermarket part for their mufflers. You can imagine what the salt does to mufflers up here. If a muffler goes in a Dodge, it's an $8,000 repair. That's what I said. 8,000. We had to fix, last year we fixed 1. It was a partial repair, and that was almost $5,000 to a muffler. These are not going to last. The longer we keep them, the more these repair bills are going to go up. 1 car a year. I would get rid of, it'll still take me 3 years to get rid of all the Dodges. So,
Chief, you got rid of one last year, didn't you?
yes,
Okay, that was a transmission sitting there like
Yes.
a hunk of junk. Okay, that went with the Tahoe, and you have that Tahoe in service.
yes.
You ordered
It
that.
just came in fully in service this week.
Okay.
Just got it back. It
Okay,
took 9
so
months.
just a quick rundown. How many Tahoes and how many vehicles do you have right now?
7 vehicles,
Yep.
plus an ACO. We have 4 Tahoes, 3 Dodges. For 14 people,
Yeah,
plus an ACO.
yeah. And how many vehicles are out on the road at any given time on patrol?
Depends
2?
on what day it is.
Okay,
Could be all of them.
okay. No-
So next year with the less of the Eversource repairs for, do you see a less of a demand for needing to be on the road?
So we don't put miles on from details.
Okay.
They just sit there. We're putting engine hours on, but not miles. The 125 to 135 is actually driving, patrolling, out there looking for, what have you, responding to calls or proactive activity on our cars. So we're pretty much using up 1 car per year based on mileage. If you skip a year, it's not going to be good. We're past that point.
I didn't mean, like you may have them all out there, like details and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and administrative, you're going to court or whatever. But actually patrolling is based on the number of officers you have. Any given, a patrol shift is 2 at a time?
At a minimum.
Yeah,
The minimum's 2.
yeah, okay.
Well,
Sometimes
actually,
so-
the minimum 0 is between 3 a.m. and 7
Well,
a.m.
yeah, it's not, no coverage there.
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, minimum is 2
Yep.
patrolling. But you can have up to 6 working a regular shift. However, we're in emergency services. We plan for the critical incidents. Critical incidents, we're gonna need every vehicle we have. Typically, like I said, it just took 9 months to upfit our newest vehicle. Now we're at 6 vehicles and 7. The Dodges, I guarantee you, one's been at the repair shop every day of this year. So now we're down to 5 of the 7. If we have any kind of other scheduled maintenance, now we're down to 4 out of 7. 7 is the minimum number of vehicles we can functionally keep this department going with, because they're in a constant state of moving. And we waste a lot of time on repairs that aren't needed.
And of those 7 right now, you got 1 that's out of service because of a transmission problem?
We have 1 that was out of service that's getting fixed. That was 2, because we're using detail funds to do it. 3 we're going to keep in service. We're just going to limit its use to details until hopefully the next Tahoe gets approved and we can drive it to auction
So,
rather than.
so if you get a
Tell them.
Tahoe this year, which Charger is it going to replace? Not one that,
Three.
not one that you're putting money into to maintain right now?
No, so that's why we're not fixing the one that just got diagnosed with the transmission. That's why we're not going to repair that transmission.
But if you don't get the Tahoe, then you're going to
We're going to have to fix that transmission.
fix the transmission?
Which is going to be about a $5,000
Okay,
repair.
okay.
I haven't got the official quote yet, but that's
Okay.
my third Dodge transmission. They're usually 4,800 to 4,900.
Right.
Does the capital improvement plan lay out how often that you'll get replace your vehicles?
So it does, capital improvement programs for something where it's not an annual expense. I'm beyond that now. I am at an annual expense for a vehicle. I shouldn't be part of the capital improvement program. I should have this in my budget. Yes, ma'am.
Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but originally, when we started out with the Dodge Chargers, it was overruled over the four-wheel drives, that's how we got the Chargers. There was a plan for 7 cars, and there was a rotation to be changing out these cars on a scheduled level. And because of lawsuits and trust issues, there were years where they did not get a car, so they ended up being 2 cars down, 3 cars down. So they're playing basically catch-up football, but once they get there, there has been a rotation that was originally planned with this program. So if we actually get all the Tahoes, theoretically, we should be much better off than trying to drive the low cars.
Correct. So the big, when we looked at what car to actually go to, we went to the Tahoe based on the mechanic's recommendation. Some engine issues, we haven't hit those yet, but compared to what we were hearing about the Fords or the Dodges, this was the best option. But especially for our roadways, the big selling point, and they were the middle tier, the Dodge was the cheapest, the Chevy was the middle tier, the Ford was the most expensive. The Chevy was the only one built on a truck platform rather than a car platform, so it's more durable. So we figured it would last longer, need less repairs as time went on. That was a big philosophy behind going behind the Chevys. And then maintaining Chevys rather than switching to Fords or Dodges so you can use the equipment. Because a lot of the equipment should be used for multiple vehicles, radios for 3 vehicles. It should have a life cycle of almost 20 years, for example. Radars, at least 2 life cycles.
Whereas
So
every
12
time
years.
we swap out a car, it's gotta buy new everything because nothing swaps.
We've been successful with grants, getting radar equipment on grants, some computer printers on grants. We can get computers on grants. Another benefit of putting vehicles in the actual budget is the timeline is off as far as grant applications. The state just opened their fiscal year, so the grant period opened. If you apply for a piece of equipment grant, which is approved, you have 90 days to put it in the vehicle. I don't know if I'm getting a vehicle until after the town vote, so I can't apply for equipment. And I'm not the only one. There's a whole big group of us who are in this system. But the guys who have it in their budget, they're a leg up on everybody else because they've already got their equipment approved, know they've got their car in their budget, can buy the car, can get the equipment, can put it in, and actually saves money. And I have an example if anybody'd like to see that. I just got an email from the state, hey, anybody want this? And can't do it, not until I find out if I'm actually getting a vehicle. Now, even though we've been late in the process, we've been very successful getting equipment with grants. I mean, you all know, vehicle number 1, the thing was an entire grant. Taxpayers here didn't pay, well, I mean, it's taxpayer funded, but you know what I mean. We got it on federal grant. Still federal taxes, but different tax source.
So you could see this line drop down to some nominal number in a couple of years, over the next couple of years,
So,
if you get another Tahoe.
yeah, right now the Tahoes are $1,000 in repairs. It's usually either a brake job or, let's see, has anything else come up? We replaced an engine in one, it's under warranty, and that's another thing of getting these things on a cycle where you're replacing them. We'd only have 1 year where we're out of warranty on them. We did get a Dodge transmission replaced on the 2018, like a month or 2 before it went out of warranty, so we got real lucky there. But we're not seeing anywhere near the repairs, and as far, you figured the Tahoe would cost more because it's bigger parts, and I'm not seeing that. The tires are comparable, the brakes are comparable. The brakes might actually be cheaper, not for Chevy brakes, but for aftermarket brakes. Like $500 for brakes and rotors, which was reasonable.
So Chief, if you don't get the Tahoe in the budget, in a warrant article, and then you're gonna wanna put $4,000 to $5,000 into the Charger transmission, your maintenance budget doesn't have that in there now, or does not.
Correct, I'm at $10,000 right now.
Yeah, which isn't,
Spend half.
No, I'm,
so then you're gonna go over that, you're gonna have to find it from somewhere else to cover that transfer.
correct, usually it's,
In other words, if you
bottom line
got,
budget.
if you got a no, and then you got a no on the town budget,
Mm-hmm.
you're screwed. No, or you're,
Pretty
well,
much.
you gotta come up with the money elsewhere, else you're not gonna get that charger to be
We
a
do,
seventh vehicle.
and that's what we did with the car too.
Yeah.
Hey, how about if we,
Yeah.
the town attorney provided an overview on
The-
what we could spend those detail funds for. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, if we designated this as detail car, we can use detail funds to fix this.
Or you might have gas money if the price of gas is,
True.
okay.
But the board would have to approve that,
Yeah, yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah,
so.
somewhere within the town, you'd have to find that money available. So-
Correct.
Okay, all right.
The likelihood of finding that in my budget, once I fill this last vacancy,
Yeah,
I have a zero-based budget.
yeah.
I don't have fluff
Yeah,
lines.
Yeah, if you don't have all your positions filled, that's been another, but if you have them filled, I understand.
Correct. Yes, sir. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Line 287, non-discretionary increase, life cycle management for ballistic equipment. So I'm proposing warrant articles for the body worn cameras and the tasers. Because we use ballistic equipment through multiple vendors, I can't do that as far as a warrant article. We have 14 people, so using a divider of 15, we typically need, at a minimum, 3 vests, 3 helmets, 3 trauma plates annually, and 1 shield. Shields go in the patrol vehicles. All ballistic equipment has a 5-year life cycle, but I've got $1,760 in my line. I just got my vest, first vest I've got since I've been here, because I brought my Norfolk vest with me, which was brand new. But the vest was right around $1,600 for one vest with 2 carriers. So I don't even have enough money in this budget line for 2 vests. I got just enough for 1 vest, no helmets, no trauma plates, no shield. So this is my most underfunded priority number 1 line, because this is what keeps our guys safe, especially in a community where we had an officer shot 5 years ago. Nothing on his arm that would have helped him, but, bullets travels a couple inches either way. We need this stuff.
So is nearly everything expired at this point?
No, so I'm good. Big year is in 2 years, where I believe I have 6 vests expiring. My helmets are getting close to expiring because we did a big purchase when I first got here. We didn't have helmets, so the board approved like 12 helmets, and then I bought 3 more since then. Trauma plates, I believe it's 3 sets we have currently. We keep them in the back, and the officers who are on regular patrol take them with them. We'd like to see 2 sets in each car. Shields, we should have 5, replacing 1 annually, 1 in each patrol vehicle. So everybody has their own issued helmet. The vests are custom fit for people. Trauma plates is a front and a back plate for each individual officer, issued to the car, because they just slide in your vest. And then a shield, 1 shield in each car.
So this is mostly shields and plates.
Shields, plates, vest, helmets,
It's all, but all of them,
all of it.
I thought you were all set with helmets. You have helmets you have?
I bought, when I first got here, I believe it's the first year I got here, so they're probably in year 4 of 5.
Oh, they're almost expired.
Yeah, they're almost expired.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you, because you seem to be tending this way, are you working to try and get a more consistent rotation, so we're only getting, X amount of helmets every
Yes.
couple of years, so we're not going whack every couple of
Absolutely. So ideally, this is what we're set up for annually,
Okay,
plus 1 shield, right here. This is what we're set up for, which is this. Where we hit that, we're having 6 vests we're gonna need in 2026. That's because we hired 6 people in 2021. So they all got brand-new vests, and they're all gonna expire at the same time. Luckily, I only have, I believe it's 1 vest due next year. So I told the board, we buy that 1 vest, and hopefully this passes, the budget passes, so I can get 2 people vests. I'll PO them right at the end of the year in next year's budget, so we'll have the money. Yeah, but ideally, we want 3 of each and 1 shield per year. It's all, everything I do is based on flatlining expenses. That's why you only see minimal increases or decreases. Last year, my budget increased by 1.4%, if I recall. This year, Selectman Bloom said it's 2.4%. And you'll never see big fluctuations with my budget because one budget passed. It's zero-based budget, so it's all based on what costs actually increase.
Okay, great.
Chief, does the manufacturer do any buybacks to recycle the old vests that are being termed out?
No, they
reduce
don't
the cost?
recycle vests.
Okay.
If they're exposed to sun, different element, even body oils, it breaks down the material of the vest, and the manufacturer doesn't support them after 5 years.
I see.
What we did do, New Hampshire did when the Ukraine war started, they asked for anybody who had old vests to give them to a department. They shipped them over to Ukraine because something's better than nothing. But, you know, I'm sure they had a waiver signed or something with them because the manufacturer's not going to do that. I just pointed out to the board, New York City did sell expired vests to a vendor, and in the contract when they sold them, it was specific where they were to be rearranged in a purpose, they either destroyed outright or rearranged in a purpose where they couldn't be used as a ballistic vest.
I see.
The vendor then resold them as a ballistic vest. A criminal was caught with them. They're all serial numbered. They were able to trace it back to New York City Police Department. It's a news article. You can look it up. It was like 2016, 2017. So a lot of egg on the face for New York City, and nobody did. That vendor's actually still in business. I looked them up. I was surprised, but they're still online. But our vendor was telling me about that and pointed me in the direction of the article and said that vendor really caught a lot of heat on that, obviously, because they violated the contract. It ended up in the hands of a criminal. It was used in the commission of a crime. You know, not good.
Yeah, it's a lot. Is that the same for helmets and the shields?
Yes, everything ballistic is a 5-year life cycle.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Grant reimbursement. This is the lowest priority, if I'm not mistaken. It is the lowest priority. So like I said, we do a lot of diligence to try to find grants. Usually we have to have a match on the grants. It's usually 25%. For instance, if I get a radar unit, the radar unit's $3,000, I could come up with 25%. This just gives us a funding line to get that 25% up. That's all it is. It's the lowest priority that I have out there. No hard feelings if it gets cut. It's just a source for grants so we can obtain it. I'm sure if we find a good grant, and I'll give you a good idea of where we might use something like this. So obviously we talked about the radio infrastructure getting updated. We still don't know if that's going to work in the school because of how the school is built with the thick walls, and not just the high school, the middle and elementary school are fine, but the high school. When our system is up and running, we're going to have to go through the high school and evaluate if our radios work. If they don't work, the school has already applied for a grant. It's like $130,000, $140,000 grant. Henniker's already agreed to pay a third of the match. The board will pay a third of the match, and the school will pay a third of the match. So each entity pays right around $12,000. So obviously, you know, this wouldn't cover it, but it would help cover it. And that puts a whole system which will boost our radio signals, allow us to communicate in the school. That's our only concern. Hopefully the radio system eliminates that and we don't need that grant. But that's our only finger crossed right now for the radio system. Any other questions? And that's it. That's the page that you had. Animal control. Again, the fuel rate was set by the BOS. They estimated 100 gallons. I will say this, our ACO is currently out injured, unknown if he will be able to return. So that might not get used at all. And then we can discuss warrant articles if no one has any other questions about the budget.
I'll just correct Selectman Bloom's math. It's 2.59. I don't know. But
Which part?
budget.
Oh,
No, it's a
okay.
2.59% increase.
Yeah, I left that alone. And I might have quoted him wrong too.
That's okay. Pretty
I'll
close.
throw that out there. Warrant articles, you want me to go, I can pull up my whole presentation, or you just want me to give you an overview? Overview, okay, we're doing a new Chevy Tahoe, proposed Chevy Tahoe. The warrant article would be for $51,060. It's being offset by the funds that we obtained selling 2 vehicles to White Mountain last year. That was 2, yeah, we sold 2. Yes. As well as some detail funds and as well as some dam funds. So we were able to get and I can get the exact numbers for you because I'm getting a confused look.
What is a dam
Yeah,
fund?
could you explain that for
Dam
some of the
funds,
new
those
members?
dam funds.
Yes.
So we do patrols up at Clough State Park. We're contracted by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We generally do 2, if we're available. If obviously we're tied up on a call for service, we don't get to the patrol. But they reimburse us for going and patrolling the dam area just to make sure everything's kosher. It goes into a separate account. And the board approved using some of those funds that were earned to offset the warrant article for the next Tahoe. Here we go. So we're projecting the next Tahoe at $54,340. I have not seen what it will actually cost yet. I used a 3.2% inflation projection based on what we paid last year. Graphics, the upfit, we're going to use the radar from one of the Dodges. It'll be number 3 that goes down. But we're going to reuse the radar out of number 3, reuse the radio out of number 3, reuse the printer out of number 3. The cost of the entire upfit Tahoe is $83,660. Now, I do have the vehicle replacement list if you want to see it. I can pull that up, what you were talking about. Maybe.
Tom, are you okay with that? Because we have some new people that it would help them see the replacement.
Yeah. CIP's a little different this year too. They usually go over that with us, but we didn't get the CIP.
Yeah, the whole
Pony show.
CIP was, yeah.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
this would be helpful.
Yeah. I was gonna ask for a copy of it to send out.
All right, this is where I need James, because I can get it on my computer, but it's not going up there. And if not, oh well. But essentially, all it shows is we replace 1 car per year. It just shows where we replace them at, what's going out, what's coming on. I can put that online. Actually, it's already online if anybody wants to go to the Ware Police website. It's under CIP rather than budget.
Chief, can I just ask you a question on that?
Yes, sir.
Offsetting funds, 16,000 auction funds, 10,000 special detail funds, 16,000 dam funds?
Correct.
That's 42,000, but it says offsetting revenue of 32.
So 16,000 should be the money we got from White Mountain for the auctioned items.
State in motion. The White Farm.
But it
Yep.
doesn't go into the 32.6 to offset? You see what I'm saying? Offsetting revenue of 32,600?
Yep, and that was from that price of 80, whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. It says revenue source, 16,000 auction funds, 10,000 special details, 16,000 dam funds. So that's 42,000, but yet offsetting, wouldn't that all be offsetting revenue towards the
No,
purchase? of the town?
it should be, wherever I wrote that, that's a mistake. Detail funds are gonna be 10,000 from detail funds, 6,000 from dam funds.
6,000 from dam
Yep,
funds.
sorry, and then
Okay.
16,600 from auction funds.
16,
That's the funding sources.
2230.
6,000 dam.
Yeah, okay, that makes it, yeah, that adds
16.
up to 32 now. Hey,
Yep.
what do you know? Very good.
32.6.
Yeah, okay, I got it now.
Yeah, a whole lot of type. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of mistakes in there somewhere.
No, well, we'll catch one once in a while when we can. yeah.
Let's see, let me go back to
I was
the,
hoping it was 16,000, because then we could take the 10,000 off the, what's called the tax impact line, you know.
anyone have any questions about the Tahoe? And then there was just a question if, and I always throw that out there, at what point does the town want me to try to pitch a warrant article to put it in the budget? It would be something like, shall this amount be added to the budget? I wouldn't want to put it in the budget my own, it's just a proposal for the voters. Just something to consider. I have a 5-bay carport with evidence storage. It was $30,000. I estimated an increase of $35,000. What that does is, we currently have to pay for 2 bays for off-site storage for large items. And I forget the time frame. I tracked it over like 19 months, and there were 9 price increases during that. I went from about $250 a month to over $400 a month. So there's a lot of fluctuation in renting evidence bays, which we have to have. Because if we seize a car, we can't put it in our carport because we have to have our carport available to be able to take prisoners in and out of the police department. For instance, I don't know if you watch Facebook, one of the campgrounds lost a kayak, but they had it stolen. We were able to recover that, get it back to the owner, but we have to seize it and maintain it until the court approves us to release it back to the owner, so we have to store it. And it's a I think that was it was a long kayak. It was probably a 12 or 14 footer. It's nothing, nothing that we're gonna be able to store conveniently anywhere, so we were able to find a manufacturer of carports who gave us a very good quote for a carport, with one of those being enclosed where we can use it for bulk items if we need it. So we would be able to get rid of that line. Currently, that line in my budget, of course, I didn't include it.
$38.50.
Yeah, I want to say I was getting rid of 2,500 or 3,500 of that line if the carport went forward as a warrant article. Also, if you ever look at the Dodges, we had to repair all of the passenger side doors where they came unglued from where the sun comes in the passenger side, and pretty much it separated the glue from the door panel, and we had to re-glue them. Obviously, that was a safety hazard, as well as the graphics fade. Now, we can live with the graphics fading, but if we had a carport to keep out of the sun, we wouldn't damage our cars as much. And they're just open carports, they're not closed or anything. It's just a shed, pretty much, open shed. No doors other than the one for the last bay, which we can enclose. Any questions about that one?
But that problem goes away if you don't have any more Dodges, because it's not a problem
No,
with the Tahoes.
the Ford did that too.
The Tahoes?
No, the Tahoe, we haven't had the Tahoe. Usually I see it at about years 4 and 5, but the Ford Explorer I never got it fixed, but the panel also separated on the Ford Explorer. Even though when I got issued the car, I used to park it out there against the dumpster, so it was in the shade.
In the shade, yeah.
But it had already been in that patrol area long enough where it separated
So
also.
we need to plant some trees so we provide shade, huh?
That would work too, actually.
Well, I'm just,
Landscaping, sounds good.
That would work. Whatever keeps them out of the
might take
shade.
a year or two, though.
It doesn't solve our storage problem though,
Yeah.
but it would solve that problem. So
So you said this is $35K now, not 30.
that's just guessing. So their estimate had gone away. The estimate prior was for 21,000 for the carport. We have to do a little bit of electrical work, run some lights in there. We've already finished the pad. However, they made a mistake on their original bid and the comparative. So they were 21,000. The comparative bids, one of them was over 70,000. One of them was about 45,000. So this was a really good deal. They had to add additional braces for the snow load up here, which they forgot to include in the price. So since we have to get a new quote now, and it's not ARPA funded, that will be included with the new price. And then we just estimate a 10% price increase, because we wouldn't know if we actually get it. Their quote's only good for 30 days. We'd have to get a quote next March to see if it's actually approved. So we just estimate it in that range.
So based on that $38.50, being generous, that would be about 11-year payback on this. Is there any other reason why we should say this is a good idea? Just,
Saves time. I mean, we have to, the fire department scrapes the parking lot, but also during the winter, we spend a lot of time clearing vehicles when it snows, which obviously if we're clearing vehicles of snow, we're not out there patrolling. So it would save time in that regard too. But that's it.
thank you.
Anything else on that one? Warrant article for safety complex water filtration system. So This
Chief,
start, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm slow to process. In terms of the carport and the evidence storage, I recall you having to transport evidence out of town and that was one of the expenses. Was that still happening? Would this save that expense? Is this connected? Am I, like,
Different.
okay,
So usually if we're transporting evidence out of town, let's get it tested at a lab, usually drugs or something like that. We're not gonna store it in this type of facility. We have an internal evidence room where if we need to really secure something, which is more of what you're describing, you know, articles of evidence from a sexual assault or drugs or something like that. Weapon used in a crime, which we don't have much of because we're a good Second Amendment community, once again. But, yeah, it's more for crime-related evidence rather than just property we need to get back. This type of storage would be more based for property, unless it was a vehicle. Obviously, we're not putting a vehicle in our building.
got it. Thank you.
Okay. The safety complex water filtration system, so, and this is a good example of how it evolves. We got through ARPA funds, a temporary water filtration system, a little unit that'll give us clean reverse osmosis water. Well, those suckers want $400 to maintain that thing annually. I called BS because that's just crazy. They're coming from Manchester. I was like, there's got to be a better way, because this is what usually starts the conversation. So I put Capital Well in my own residence. Not that I'm endorsing anyone, but I was very satisfied with them. I called them and had them come test the water at the complex. Found out there's arsenic in the water. We immediately shut down the water fountain in the lobby. Talking to the fire chief, he was having problems with spotting on an after vehicle rinse when they have to wash their own vehicles, as well as multiple filter changes because they wash their own clothes. They make their own ice. They had one of those systems also. But we looked at an entire filtration system for the water safety complex, which would solve all of these problems. The arsenic in the water, providing a clean source of water for the ice in the fire department, filtering the water through multiple steps prior to washing, providing a rinse station for their vehicles so they're not damaging the paint. That came in originally at $30,000. I put $35,000 just based on we can't rely on the original quote, just to make sure we could still do that. This has already gone out for RFP. These were the lowest bidders on this process. We would just have to get a new quote if it was approved by the voters. But, you know, obviously arsenic in the water is a big concern. It's double the rate of what's approved.
Was there a full battery of water tests done?
Yes,
Yeah, everything?
yes.
Okay.
I do have those results if anybody wants to see
Okay.
them. Yes, ma'am.
When you're putting these things out to bid, are we only going to companies in New Hampshire?
No, because I get contacted by companies who facilitate bid processes, and I actually put in my RFP, I'm not going to respond to them. Nobody is going to come from Illinois to put in a $30,000 system in the Ware Police Department and fire departments. We're looking more local. But yeah, I've, for instance, with the radio tower infrastructure, when we had to get a concrete base, I reached out to companies in Massachusetts, in Maine, nobody in Vermont, and throughout New Hampshire until I was actually able to find someone in Ware who did an excellent job putting in a concrete base for us for that. So we put out the project, the state then puts out the RFP as part of a statewide, so anybody can look at it, and we get calls from all over the place.
How many quotes do you have?
For that one, I got multiple on that. I don't recall the exact number on that.
We had a good range of numbers to look over.
We had it wasn't a huge range. It was a couple companies. We got interest from 6 or 7. Only 2 or 3 actually submitted bids, and they were the lowest. One local company came in and he said this was too big of a job for him. He couldn't do it. I didn't count his bid because he didn't really submit one.
Chief, I probably missed something. you said you got a small system in there now that $400 or something to come out and maintain it, but that doesn't take the arsenic out, is that right? Or it
That
does?
will take the arsenic out. We have one, and fire department has one. The problem is,
So what
our
the-
reoccurring costs are very high. They have two systems. They actually have to, they had to shut down one of their systems because they don't have the funding to maintain it. The life cycle,
So on an annual basis, what are we paying to maintain the systems we got there now?
at a minimum, $800.
Okay, but, and to replace that is 35,000?
Actually, I'm sorry, so that's just for these two systems. The fire department has multiple filter systems that aren't doing the job, plus they have to do, we're spending probably between us and the fire department about $2,000 a year maintaining our current system, which still has arsenic in it. That's not even addressing the problem.
Well, that's what I was saying, it doesn't, the arsenic, your current system, even though even if it's paid to be maintained, is not solving the problem with the arsenic, but is the arsenic is not critical enough where you're not using the water.
Oh, it is. We don't use it goes through, so it's going through it's a little contained system that has
Okay.
reverse osmosis and a filter in it.
Whatever it does.
Yeah, but like it doesn't filter the building where we have to shut down the water fountain and put, if somebody drinks that,
Okay, so you got a water
yeah.
fountain.
We have signs, but
Yeah, okay.
yeah, it's not good.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
In other words, you're getting by without it right now.
We are.
Okay.
I'm just curious what size system it is, because I've got a fairly good-sized home, and we just did this for our home, and we did it for $3,800.
So we're also addressing
We had
it.
exactly what you said, the arsenic and all that good stuff.
We're also addressing a couple of problems, because it's going through the whole building. Most of the problems are on the fire department side. They have a filter system on their washer and dryer, which they replace filters monthly. So this is where the $2,000 annual maintenance costs come from. If we go to a new system, we're down to, let me actually pull out the folder out, because I've got it in there.
I may be sorry I asked the question.
Nah, it's all right.
Well, 35 is a lot of money, so it's
Yeah,
interesting to know where
that's
the
kind of,
peak is coming from.
yeah,
Yeah, because I do wash, we use a lot of water over there, so I'm just curious.
you're not drinking the washing machine water.
The minerals in the water is damaging the paint on their vehicles, where they're unable to see out their windshields. That's another big concern. This new system solves that, because it gives them a spot-free rinse station. It's like a 500-gallon reservoir, where it's also going to go through reverse osmosis, and they have that for a final rinse on their vehicles to get all these minerals off of it. There's the whole report for the. So,
I just think some highlights, like, from that report would help give
Yes.
us a sense for,
Okay.
I got plenty of copies of it. I can give everybody a copy. It's got the whole report in there. Here.
That'd be great.
Yeah, no problem. I got reports on all these if anybody wants them.
Sure.
But in here too, you'll see, we go from about $2,000 a year maintenance to $500 a year for the entire system. And then there's another 3 membrane replacement that's about 600, that's like every other year. So we significantly reduce the maintenance cost by going to the new system, as well as address all the problems, particularly with the arsenic and the paint for the chief's wash vehicle station. Whoa. And just y'all have questions if you got them.
The RFP is online to be able to see, or is that just for vendors?
No, that's online. It's under the chief tab, you go to CIP, and all of my CIP presentations are in there.
Chief, if this is mostly on the fire department side, why is it showing up on your budget?
I'm part of the safety complex,
See,
and it's not really in my budget.
Warrant
It's just a warrant article that
Okay.
I'm proposing.
got it.
But like we're dividing up the maintenance of the system. I would take the annual maintenance, which would be about $500, and then he do the every couple year maintenance on one of those filters, which is required.
Chief, so the warrant article, the main bulk of this water filtration system, the police department is putting through, the fire department isn't.
No, yes, correct. I'm the only one presenting the warrant article for this. But it's for the entire safety complex. The issues are primarily with, we just have one drinking station on our side. And if this new system went in, we would both share a water fountain in the lobby, which citizens would have access to, which is fine.
Did you have a similar form that you filled out for the carport too?
Yes, I do.
CIP? That'll be good for us to, we could peruse it on.
Absolutely. I've got the Tahoe too, if you want that one.
Sure, anybody that wants one?
Sure.
Here, I'll just start them down here.
That's good, I need fire
Yeah,
starter at
makes
home.
sense. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Killing trees here.
This is the new printer at work.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
yeah.
these trees are
Got your
dead
snow
anyway.
blower ready to go.
These are online.
The lawnmower with the snow blower last week.
Yeah, that's
Well, the actual cost
And there's
is
no reason to get
80
excited over it.
So this will,
83,660 projected, but we were able to offset that, about 32,600.
51, it's like without paint. That's low.
It's just a vehicle.
Thank you.
The first Tahoe we purchased in 2021 was $38,000 for the Tahoe itself. They're up to 53,000 now, so quite quickly they rose.
COVID. So all these forms are on your CIP
Yes, sir.
page as well?
Correct.
Sometimes it's nice just to take notes, but we could all print them out ourselves if we had to, but since you made them.
Yep. Anybody else have any questions about the water filtration system? All right, then we just have two small ones, one for body worn camera. This is for the actual equipment. 3 body worn cameras annually and 1 docking bay. The cost of that is $4,186 for the equipment. So when we wrote up that warrant article, it would be for the body worn camera an additional $4,186 for 3 body worn cameras and 1 docking bay annually, since the licensing software has already been approved. Total for the body worn camera licensing software, 3 cameras, and docking bay annually is right about $8,400.
What's the docking bay?
That's so they have rechargeable batteries inside, plus they download the video that you took. So when you're done, you unclip it from your vest, you mount it in the docking bay, it downloads the video from there, and it recharges the battery.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. The tasers are gonna operate off of that type of concept coming up. That's new for us. Usually they're just a battery that lasts for a year. Axon controls everything. Any questions about BWC? The last item are tasers. So we used to have tasers issued for each officer as a way to save money, because Taser no longer is going to sell what we were currently carrying. We got notified that a couple years ago. As with any product redesign, the price goes up. So instead of issuing tasers to individual officers, we're going to keep a pool of tasers, whereas officers come into work, they can sign out one for one of the tasers. What this pays for, this is an annual expense, this pays for 2 taser complete apparatuses, because now we used to buy the tasers and the holsters separately. Whatever we wanted, we could purchase. Cartridges for the tasers, training material, it's all a package deal now. So when you buy a taser, you're buying a 5-year package for the taser, a holster, and cartridges, enough cartridges for the use and recertification annually. So we have 2 of those packages in this cost, plus one recertification package. So it's pretty much just the cartridges for 5 years annually. So for what this does, this pretty much gets us 3 people certified per year under the new TASER, and then 5 years, we have everybody done. Because I have a current, TASER wants everything up front. They want you to do all 15 at once. I was like, I have TASERs that are still good for 4 years. I'm not getting rid of them just because you guys want a contract for all 15. So after, it took me like 2 months to finally get that through to them. So we got it broken down where it's 2 TASERs, 1 recertification package annually, which will renew each year for 5 years. But that, each year where it renews, that package is good for 5 years. So it just keeps going. Does that make sense? It's like a stepping stone. 3 the first year, now I got 6, now I got 9, now I got 12, now I got 15 where I'm supposed to have. 5-year life cycle, so we're good. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious, do we tase a lot of people?
So, let me just make sure I've
Well,
got
you
this
know, we
still
got
shot.
tasers, so I want to know how much we're
We do
using
not.
them
We have a
for.
very good community. However, we do have people from outside the community. And I'm pretty sure I do. I
Get
did.
them, okay. The
I did not-
spears and the DUIs.
I did not download this on the, so I can put it up here, but I will walk around and show it. So this is an officer pointing a tasered individual. These were 3 motorcycles who he stopped doing 75 miles or 70 miles an hour on 77. Right? He went to, one of them assaulted the officer. The officer went to arrest him. He's actually, the guy who assaulted him, the officer pulled him off his bike, and he's got the officer's legs behind him. So he's got the officer where the officer can't go anywhere. The brother is threatening to kill him, right? So he's holding the brother back with the taser. Brother backs up. He tases the guy to get him off his legs, right? Gets the scene under control. Sergeant Fursby comes up to the scene. As they're assisting the guy he tased up, the guy launches and split the officer's eye open where he needed stitches. So we do get in fights, it does happen. This is a very valuable tool because he's holding off 3 guys with this. Now, you know, imagine if it's 3-on-1. We actually, and this is the kind of community, we actually had multiple citizens stop to help the officer, who we wrote up awards for. I'll mention Dustin Cheney and Killian Donnelly by name. Both of them stopped. But yeah, very bad situation, which could have gone even way worse had not we had the tool to control that situation. So that one incident paid for the entire paid TASER program in and of itself. He was out for about a week because his eyes swelled up and it had to close before he could go back to work. But you know, imagine if he really got hurt, where he's out for months now, recovering with overtime, lawsuits, I'm sure, so. Very intense situation.
So
Will passing this add anything to next year's budget, or does that 5-year package kind of get you?
So it'll be, the warrant article be request to add $11,439. I already have a TASER line which has $1 to provide a TASER program. So it'll be an annual cost of $11,439
In the budget.
in the budget.
now, if you don't get that, Chief, you have old tasers now,
I still have
but those are gonna,
current tasers. I'm not, by no means am I dead in the water. We still have tasers. We'll have to go to a pool of tasers.
okay. But those have a shelf life, you said?
5 years.
5 years, and you're,
I'm depending on, so usually I get 3, I try to get 3 a year. So I have 3 expiring this year. Currently I have 10 to 12. I didn't get an exact number from my,
okay,
from Corporal
because
Means.
each officer used to have his own.
Each
or
officer
a
did used to
unit.
have it, but I'd still have a pool where
Yeah.
officers could draw from
Yeah,
that pool,
so-
even if
so-
this doesn't pass.
If you don't get that this year, at some point, you're gonna need it, or you won't be able to have a TASER program. You will still
Definitely.
have a TASER program if this does not go
Correct.
through. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Not imperative that I have to have it this year,
Well,
but
yes.
within the next 3 years, absolutely.
That's good. Got it.
And this, I would say this is imperative this year because I've got batteries that are dying mid-shift.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I gotta check on this. I'm not sure if I can get cartridges for the tasers we currently carry anymore. I will send a follow-up.
Oh, that's good to know, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought of that one, because
Okay,
they stopped
all right.
selling tasers. I'm not sure the cartridges.
All right.
I'm not sure when they're gonna stop selling those. I don't think they're gonna stop selling them within the next 3 years, but I will verify.
Well, you might be able to go to that supplier that was selling the vests offline. Maybe he's selling taser cartridges too.
As long as I can get cartridges, I'm good for a couple years.
Right.
It's not a critical
Yeah,
incident, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get cartridges.
okay,
Because we just did an order last month.
okay.
Just, it's always turning. My wife's one, I'm
Such
glad
fun
I'm when I'm at work.
questions.
Chief, the last three things on here are not on the CIP request that came from the planning board. Did you go over these things with them?
No, so just mention casual conversation, we're a community of,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the filter, the BWC, and the tasers, sorry.
oh yeah, so they didn't have to go through CIP.
They didn't-
They're
oh,
below the
below.
monetary threshold. I did go over with them with the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. What is the threshold, 15?
15,
Used to be
yes.
15.
So the
Yeah, and we're looking at 11,439, and actually, this is gonna be the whole warrant article, 4186.
water filtration is over that number, so they didn't.
Yes, that went through, and that went through. All those were to CIP.
I'm sorry, it is on there, my mistake. Yeah, never mind. Got it. The first three did, sorry, the last two didn't, they don't have to.
Right.
Gotcha. The last
And-
two that have money on them, not dollars.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then just the other conversation piece we call up, obviously, we're not here at 3 AM, 7 AM. The lowest cost I can think of to cover that is an on-call program. If anyone wants me to actually put together the numbers, I would guess 50 to 60,000 annual cost to cover the overtime plus on-call pay, where officers are actually, someone can be contacted and respond between those hours. You would have a primary and secondary. I wasn't gonna put in that kind of effort if nobody's really interested, but if they're interested, I can present that information.
Did the Board of Selectmen have any interest?
They didn't express it. I didn't get an opinion one way or the other.
Okay.
I just kind of put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a project itself, right? Seems like a lot of detail involved in that one, financially understanding it.
Yeah, not that much. It would just, the biggest time consumer, what response, obviously, we wouldn't want to create overtime for every incident, for instance, and it's good for instance, vehicle has a single vehicle accident with an animal, and the animal looks injured but gets off and runs in the woods, we're not gonna come in for that. If the animal is still on scene and needs to be put down, we come on for that. We can look for an animal in the morning when it's light out, something like that, but we would have to go through every type of call we might get. Is it a one officer call, is it a two officer call, is it a phone call, or is it pending notification for day shift? Just to make sure we control overtime expenses. That's the big fluctuation, to make sure, because we have roughly 100 calls for service between those hours. State police does not come.
Yeah.
They're short-staffed. If it's an accident, they will come if they're available. It depends on what time of the morning it is. If it's close enough where, if it's 6 o'clock and they know we're coming on at 7, they'll tell them, hold it. If there's no injuries, did we come on? But there's, the only one I feel bad if somebody passes away between 3 and 7. They gotta wait for an officer to get on duty to actually get to the scene and assist.
Chief, can you do just one last thing for me? And
Sure.
Those ones that you had up there, those 6, can you just throw that back?
Yes, sir.
You hit that button there. This is a theoretical question, so that you get a chance to tell us,
Okay.
of those 6, what's your order of priority? So we're not setting your priority for you. We'd like to know
Got it.
what, at least I would like to know if, let's say, not all 6 are gonna get approved, but I think you said probably the highest priority was either the Tahoe or the BWC.
So, yep, and that's what I'm trying to work through, which
Oh,
one of
okay,
those is higher.
I'll let you work through it. Yeah.
Tahoe's probably the highest priority,
Yep.
because we can't go anywhere if we don't have them. BWC is definitely second.
Okay.
Tasers 3, water filtration 4, carport 5, on-call 6. Good question. Thank you.
Okay.
Really good question.
Can we go over that again?
Yeah, the water,
Okay, sure.
water filtration is which?
Tahoe 1,
Yep,
BWC 2,
yep,
tasers 3,
yep,
water filtration 4,
okay,
carport 5,
okay.
on-call 6.
Got it.
Good question. Any other questions?
When were you in Norfolk?
So I was hired in 1996 and I left to come up here to God's country in 2019.
I was around that area, I was on the USS Enterprise from 2000, beginning of 2003 to 2006, the end.
Let's see, what was I doing 2003 to 2006? I want to say I was a corporal in patrol and a corporal in K-9 and then back into a sergeant in patrol. Nowhere around the Navy base. I never worked around the Navy base. Usually I was down south, Park Place, Huntersville, all the fun places. I like crime, so they had to keep me entertained. If you ever want to feel good, pull up Norfolk's Crime View map and show these guys something. I'd only pull
I
up
can only
homicides and
imagine.
robberies, and I was like, yeah, here you go.
It was very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good
You're
presentation.
welcome. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Well prepared. Thank you.
Yep. And my email is available if anybody thinks of anything else. And I'll follow up on that taser cartridge and get it forwarded to the chair.
Sure. Thank you.
If you don't mind distributing it.
No.
But I'm pretty sure we're good, but I just want to verify.
Okay. Jason, I'm just gonna take 2 minutes for a couple of business items real quick. Members who weren't here at the last meeting, Elizabeth, this is Elizabeth Evans, by the way, and this is John Merva. And new member Kyle Bazoian, he came tonight. For the new members, the moderator couldn't make it tonight. He's traveling to New York for family on Thanksgiving. So he will be here in the next meeting. So we'll swear you in and you'll have to sign the social media policy and the ethics code. He'll give you copies of that you can read, but just wanted to remind everybody of that he couldn't make it tonight. And we did have one resignation, Carrie Tepper, so the moderator will be contacting Naomi to put out the word and we'll be appointing a replacement for that. It's entirely up to the moderator to appoint replacements. And we'll go over the minutes after we hear from DPW director and do our business later on instead of making him wait.
Sounds good.
Is Neil still on the?
Neil is on, he
Just couldn't make it tonight.
I haven't heard from him, so,
Right.
yeah, hopefully everything's okay. So, DPW Director Jason Fisk, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to rush through this, but the guys are out, and I want to make sure that
Yeah, nice.
I'm still involved a little bit. So, 2025 DPW CIP requests. Just kind of an overview: road reconstruction, plow truck, mower, and a scale for the transfer station. Road reconstruction, we're asking for $650,000 this year. This is just kind of an outlook for the next few years. Moving forward, I'd like to increase by $50,000 every year till we get to $750,000. This future number is going to account for town's growing needs, accommodations that we need going forward. First picture here, you can see a road that we did reclaim just a couple weeks ago. So that's part where that money goes to. Some flooding that happened in 2023. It's actually right by Daniels Lake, so there's some costs associated with doing some repairs there. And then this is a finished road that was done last year. Any questions on road maintenance? That's a pretty standard one for you guys. I know there's a couple new phases, but
Yeah, we're not actually gonna put $650,000 for tax impact as an offset for that, right?
yeah, so it's 280-ish for a grant, and then the rest of it will be taxation.
Oh, 366,000 and change is what I got here, okay.
Yeah, I gave you the copies of the full CIP forms. Excuse me for a second. What?
Just so you know, the highway's out, that's what he keeps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's-
yeah.
yep,
I appreciate that they're out there.
Just tell them to go back to the shop.
first day, right?
Okay, tell them to go back to the shop.
He's got on the phone right now. He's got two.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah.
Road construction
Go back to
typically
the shop now.
that expensive.
Hmm?
Road construction.
Typically how much
Yeah,
it is.
they had that big article
It's maintenance, construction and
a couple
maintenance,
of
I
years
think.
ago. They put a lot of money on the one plus million spread out in a bond. And that got it so, to get it up to snuff to where a continuing maintenance program like this
It's an annual,
would be able to keep it up, because once you have to have a reclamation, it's a big dollars.
yeah.
You don't
It's,
get-
it's been in the 550 range, and then it crept up to 600, and now it's 650.
Unfortunately, the state portion never, doesn't seem to go up.
It doesn't change, yeah. The state gives us
Yeah.
a percent, state gives us a grant each year, and then the difference goes to the taxpayer from the 650. But that has crept up over the 8 years that I've been here. It was 550, and now it's up to
5 or
650.
550, and then 6 or 650.
The cost of tarring and paving and construction, all that, it just keeps going up.
Are there certain roads that are identified for what's gonna
That
get
when
done
they
when?
did the bond,
Sorry.
Oh, that was
no,
different.
no, we're sorry.
What do we got? Road maintenance, reconstruction?
Road reconstruction was, I think was good.
Okay, that includes preservation, as chip coating. A lot of you guys are familiar with that. So it's not just rebuilding roads, there's preservation there too. 10-wheeler, 280,000, kind of the outlook. Moving past these years, I'm not 100% sure where we're gonna be at. So that's why the number kind of plateaued there. Moving forward, the highway department would like to get a truck every year, just to help maintain our rotation. Certainly does keep down the repair costs for us. We can keep trucks on the road doing what they need to do. As you guys, most of you are aware, most of the time when we do get a truck voted on, this last few years, it's been over a year before we see that truck. So the truck that does need to replace ends up having to go through another winter as well. So if a truck's on its last leg there because we haven't been able to replace one, we end up dumping a whole lot more money into it than what it's really worth or what's really necessary. But we have to do it to get ourselves through. You can see this truck on the left here is the new truck from the 2023 vote. We received that just at the end of the plowing season this year. It was able to do one storm for us, so that was kind of nice. We got that one in 8-9 months or so. So that was good. This is a candidate for replacement this year. Any questions on trucks?
So the one you got last year isn't here yet, right?
It's not, no.
Yeah,
No.
so you're working, yeah, so that was March, and
Yeah, so
so you're saying,
we did take, we got the truck. It's at the body shop now, waiting for plow stuff and the dump body.
so hopefully it'll be in service before the end of the winter, maybe not.
It was kind of the same result with
same
that
drill.
one, and
Okay.
that one came in late March,
Yep.
I believe, so.
Jason, I always ask this, I'll let you tell the group the answer. The new truck, the 10-wheelers they can stay out longer, greater capacity for
Yep.
sanding anyway.
Yep,
And I always say, at the end of the line, when you got X amount of trucks now, why can't there be one or two few trucks, less trucks than what you have now because of the increased efficiency of the existing trucks?
yep.
And-
So, as far as
Go
the
ahead.
efficiency of the 10-wheelers, it is in the sanding and salting capacity. We're still plowing the same amount of miles, as a six-wheeler would. It's just the fact that we don't have to go back and reload, with the six-wheeler, or with the 10-wheeler rather, compared to the six-wheeler. So, you know, most times in bad weather, it is 40 minutes to an hour round trip if, depending on what route these guys are on. So it does definitely add more time, on the go around there if we have six-wheelers. Not to mention the fact that we're having all the new developments in town and we are gaining miles rather than losing any. So,
Have you got enough drivers for the trucks?
more or less. We have,
You could have a new, conceivably you could have a new truck but no driver.
yeah, we managed to get a couple of part-time seasonal guys this winter to fill in a couple spots.
And you were able to do that?
So,
and cover it.
yep, we
Okay,
did
all right.
get two of those guys. So as of right now, all the trucks we have in service on the road, we do have a butt for every seat, which is nice. Last year was not so much. And I believe last year that Warren article that gave the highway department a base raise really helped us out, as far as hiring new people, because we were down just about less than half staff, just under. So it was a tough winter last year, but this winter I'm hoping it's looking up for us.
Jason, go ahead.
How many trucks do you have?
Total, we have 11 big trucks, 2 5500s, and then the pickup has a plow on it just in case we have to spot some intersections or 1-ton breaks down. I can do parking lots and stuff, but pieces of plowing equipment, we're right at 13 for frontline stuff.
This would probably replace, you got another Volvo that's going out the door.
Yeah, we have 3 left.
Yeah. Okay.
So is there one going out? If this doesn't pass, are you down a truck? Or can you live,
We won't be down a truck per se. We'll just have
Load.
keep one of the older trucks.
smaller and older?
Yeah, so
With the older truck, assuming, let's say it doesn't pass, what's the age on that and the repairs or the cost for repairs and maintenance?
this winter, time will tell on that. They are almost 20 years old and they've hauled salt their whole life, so they're pretty good for at least brakes and tires every year, so at least $5,000 for that. No telling if a chain breaks or a plow breaks and we have to rebuild that stuff, that can all add up pretty fast.
And there was like a truck that got caught on fire, was that last year or the year before?
That was a few years
That's not
ago.
an
Years
issue
ago,
anymore.
yeah.
The truck's
That's all
gone.
taken care of, yeah.
Okay. Are you considered fully staffed at this point, including
No.
those 2 part-time? Okay. How many heads are you short?
We're down, I guess, 2 full-time positions. Those part-timers we have 1 vacant position. 1 gentleman is retiring. He's not intent on plowing snow this year. So he'll be retiring, so that's 2 full-time positions that were down. Those 2 part-timers, that kind of fills one of the positions. We have a part-time position at the highway department. And then that second part-timer, the board of selectmen made a part-time seasonal position just to help us out because we're short-staffed. But technically, right at this moment, we're down 1 full-timer. When that gentleman retires, which will be very soon because we're having snow on Thursday, we'll be down 2 full-time positions. So that's 10, 11 out of 12 there, I guess.
Got it. Thank you.
And is this, would that truck be straight taxation, or is there a fund that you can borrow
That'll be
from?
right from taxes, yep,
280?
yep.
Oh, you've got it, yeah, it's on the CIP, it doesn't say anything, right?
Any more on that? Mowing tractor. Most of you guys saw this last year. This is kind of just an equipment forecast for the highway department. A lot of this stuff is not right now. It's not going to matter too much for you guys, but this year that 175 for the mowing tractor. It is something that's fairly necessary for us to keep the roads trimmed back, make sure that there's visibility. Cleaning up intersections is a major thing. The way we're doing it now, renting or hiring it out, it's just not cost effective in the long term for us. And I think I think you guys at the finance committee understood that last year and said it's long term a good idea. But last year just wasn't the year for it, in your opinion. That's what I remember, at least. I don't know if you guys are on the same page as me, but that's,
How expensive is it to rent?
so we have $12,000 in the budget for roadside mowing. So that's typically what we spend every year. The past couple years, we've got about 1/8 of the town done every year, which is not very much compared to what we could do with our own piece of equipment. We could get 50 to 60% done, in my opinion, and if we can keep up with that, you hit half the town every 2 years. That should keep all the woody growth back. And at that point, you're really just trimming grass a lot, which will make the process even faster. After that first couple years, we keep that woody growth back. It doesn't take as long to trim. Much easier on equipment rather than getting trees like this mowed compared to just regular grass.
Does that require any additional staffing, or is that same distribution?
No, we just put one of our operators in it. This would be replacing a piece of equipment we have already that's out of service.
Is there any leasing revenue available if we purchase this piece of equipment to other towns to lease it out that don't have their own?
I haven't looked into that.
Or vice versa? Or rent may be cheaper from other towns than what we're currently renting?
Nobody around us in the vicinity has one. The surrounding towns that I know of, that they own physically, a lot of them do rent out or subcontract.
Who are they renting, who are we renting from?
There's a few people, MB Tractor up in Tilton has them. Dodge Farm over in New Boston, they rent them out. There's a couple people who have a fleet of them that they'll come out and do it themselves. They don't rent them, but you can hire them. I did look at an excavator option with a mowing attachment, and that moves a lot slower than this. I was really hoping that it would kind of blow my socks off and we could have a mini excavator as well as kind of a mower all wrapped in one, just to get that dual purpose for the town. We do end up renting a mini a few times a year, so I thought maybe we could kind of eliminate that, having our own piece of equipment, but they just don't get enough done for what we need for the cost, in my opinion. So scale for the transfer station. This has certainly been quite a hot topic as of late. You can see here kind of outlook for transfer station equipment. You see some blank years that here filled in at the highway department. kind of the idea with the whole DPW asking for equipment is one truck and one piece of equipment a year. So I'd kind of space these out as to not overload the taxpayer. So yeah, I'll let you chew on that for a second. Go ahead. Hello. Yeah. Yeah.
I have to say, she complained about Neil doing that last year, just gonna say.
About doing what?
Yeah,
She's out chit-chatting, not even affording at any time. One of your members.
Charlie's on his way in, so
Just saying. Should be the first to call Neil out on it. When the super's here. I think you understand. It's not giving him any opportunity.
No, not at all.
Jesus.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just my 2 cents.
While we get a second, what we do with the finance committee is we're just looking at all these items and their own merits. We put together a master worksheet that'll have everything. We can look at all the tax impacts of budgets and all capital. We put together the whole package. We look at if all articles passed, what does it do to the taxes? If all articles fail, what does it do to the taxes? And then we hash out our recommendations on either of them. So for now, just take everything and absorb everything at face value, and we'll look at the big picture. And we'll vote on everything after we have the big picture and our recommendation. Something like this, I think, we were trying to find a way to keep the tax rate from going up too high. We might have not recommended it, not on its merits, but on the package, right?
You're right.
So we'll do the same thing, I think, if the committee wants to do that, but,
Balance.
go ahead, sorry.
Sorry. Scale. This would eliminate the issues that we're having as far as the revolving fund at the transfer station. We are currently charging residents per yard to get rid of demolition waste. We're paying per ton to get rid of it, so we're doing apples, oranges. It's not really working out the best for us at the moment. So this would give us the peace of mind. We're charging by the ton. We're getting rid of it by the ton. There's no question whether you come in with shingles, wood, whatever it is. This is a price per ton. This is what you're paying. This is what we pay. That revolving fund is it's not paid for with tax money. It's paid for by the people who bring that material in. We're kind of just a middleman providing that service, and we should not be going in the red on that, and this would help us.
So right now, you're spending more to get rid of waste than what you're collecting in revenue?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, we're having some problems with that.
Do you have an estimate of how much you're in the red per year on that?
It's certainly, it was worse last year. We've kind of got it under control. I think at this point, we're about 35,000
A year.
right now, total.
Last year, how much were you in the red?
Yes, last year we were like 30, and now this year we're at like 5 or so.
30,000,
Yes.
3,800, 30,000
30
total?
30,000 last year, 5,000 this year.
Oh, thank you.
So basically, there's your number.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
So that's year to date, or that's
Yeah.
ending balance?
So, year to date, that's where we were last year. Year to date, that's where we are right now.
2,000?
Yeah,
Okay,
that number's not right at the moment, but this was last year, year to date, so.
30,000?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So they've put in procedures to better manage the collection and the weighing and, estimating. It's not weighing.
Yeah, the Public Works Department has been working pretty closely with the Board of Selectmen, trying to give them updates on where we're at and, the processes we're going through to solve this problem. But this scale will, certainly help us kind of eliminate all the human variables that we're having right at the moment.
Is it possible that, for sure, people would be charged more accurately going forward,
Yep.
correctly? Could some small upcharge be added to pay for the scale going forward?
I would say it's possible. The way a revolving fund is supposed to work, you're not supposed to make any money on there. That would kind of be up to the Board of Selectmen to figure out that whole process.
Okay.
Is that gonna create a traffic problem? How would that, where would that fit in with the traffic flow?
So if you're
Create more
familiar where the brush pile is right at the moment,
Yep.
it's kind of on the outskirts.
Oh, yeah.
There, so that's the idea. We would push the brush pile back.
Yep.
And then put that scale up there.
Okay.
So it's out of the way of the main traffic flow, so they can get on, pause there,
So-
do the scale, take care of that. So
Does somebody have to be out there to read it, or can they read it
yeah,
from inside?
Yeah.
or-
So
Receipt, prints out a receipt probably.
yeah, so we won't necessarily have a scale, we won't build a scale house with it right now. That's kind of future up this direction. We certainly will be able to tie that scale into a new facility when we get to that point, if we get to that point in a few years. So it's not something that is permanent where it is. There will have to be a concrete slab that gets poured, but we can definitely move that scale once that kind of comes about. It's just an example of what one would look like. If you guys are ever down B&B Lane, there's a facility down there. They have a similar model to this. You can check that out if that's something that sparks your interest.
I gotta ask a question on this one. It says the special revenue fund, I'm assuming that's that would cut 45,000 off the 90.
Yep.
Transfer station special revenue fund, on the list that I have, it only has 28,000 in it. Did that,
Yep, so,
find on that?
so the transfer station special revenue fund, the finance administrator, collects all of our revenues throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, she takes that 50%.
It's annual.
That goes to that fund and puts that in there. So, projected, we're supposed to have around 65,000, by the time we get to, the end of the year this year.
Okay, so that would bring us down to 20, okay.
Yeah, there's what, 23 and 24 in there right now?
Oh, 28, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll go up to 65, or
Yeah.
you'll add 65?
Yep. No, it'll go up to 65, yep.
Okay, and then you'll spend 45 from it to pay for half of this?
Yep, so,
passes.
yeah, that special revenue fund is all money from recycling, at the transfer station. So, say aluminum cans, scrap metal, paper, if we get paid for a load of paper. That market kind of fluctuates. Sometimes we don't get any money, sometimes we get some money. But a lot of the money that goes in there is scrap metal and, aluminum cans.
And that wouldn't put you in a position with 20K left over for any hardship of any kind?
So what that fund is for equipment at the transfer station, and it does have to get voted on.
Yep.
So
So you would build it up for another year or two for something else?
I would like us to kind of build that fund up and help offset some of this cost when we get somewhere in this area.
Okay.
So I did talk to the Board of Selectmen about taking the, because that special revenue fund gets 50%. I would like to see that get 100% of the recycling money and put that back into the facility. 50% of it does go back into the general fund, so it still does go to the taxpayer. It would still be going back to the taxpayers, just for where the money came from, in my opinion. So that's the hope there. Whether or not we see that this year, I'm not sure, but, any more questions on scale?
Not on the scale, but on the recycling revenue, are you
Yep.
seeing those numbers increase over time or fluctuate in certain sources, looking at aluminum versus?
We have increased this year in what we're bringing in. I think we're right at about 58,000 year to date right now, and I think last year we were at 38 year to date.
That's significant.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of the town that just doesn't recycle. Is there any type of thoughts to perhaps put out like the benefits so then we can increase that revenue?
Yep. So we were We were putting up signs around the aluminum cans and by the cardboard bales, kind of showing how much money we're bringing in per ton or per cardboard bale. So there is a little bit of education that we're trying to do for the public as far as that goes. We get grant money for signs every year from New Hampshire the Beautiful. So we are working on, we have kind of like a big scoreboard that we can put up outside that says we've brought in this money this year, this money last year, or whatever we kind of want to put in on that board, just to kind of get it out to the public that, hey, recycling brings you in this money. So there is a little bit on our end that we're trying to do there. We could always do more, I imagine, but we are working on that.
Got it. And we still don't take plastic?
Not at the moment, no.
Is there any money to be made there?
It's hard to say. Sometimes we can bail enough and store it up where it does get the money. Some of the different grades are worth more. That takes some time to sort out all that stuff. So you're talking man hours for that, which they are closed on Thursdays, but the guys do come in for 4 hours to try to catch up on stuff. That would take up a lot of their time.
Sounds like more of like a high school project for
It's consistent, for sure.
kids. For college credit.
So it fluctuates a lot with the price of gas, petroleum. So when gas prices are low,
It's all fossil fuels, yeah.
it's plastic's very low. It's not worth recycling at that point. You're kind of costing yourself money to recycle it, as harsh as that sounds.
That's how it's been. That's why how it hasn't been taken, yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking of revenues to perhaps pay for the scale just based on an act of the public, just doing something super nominal to raise more money and reduce taxes.
Yep. Well, that's where that special revenue fund comes in. Recycling money does go and pay for equipment. So when the previous DPW director set that up, that was really good on him for that. But I'd like to just keep building on that, and like I said, I'd like to see 100% go right back to the facility.
Jason, are there any grants available?
I personally haven't seen any. I will certainly look more. I did look. We did have the grant opportunity last year for trucks, so that's always something that I'm looking at. I haven't seen anything that this kind of fits into. We tried to get ARPA money for this, but it wasn't approved. So that's where we're at. Any questions? Road maintenance, 10-wheeler, mower, scale? Go ahead.
If you were gonna rank these in level of importance.
You
this
beat
is
me to
still-
it.
How do you wanna rank these for?
1, 1, 1, 1.
No, no. 1 through 4, pick them out.
You're putting your fate in our
1, 2,
hands.
3, 4.
This is your opportunity.
Just how they are there, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Just mentally did.
I'd
it.
really like both of these, 1 and 1. These both need to happen.
Okay.
Well, 1A, 1B, we can note that.
There's 2020, I believe, we didn't get one of these trucks,
Right.
and it really put us in a hole.
Yeah.
I was
How
the
are we
me-
sitting right now?
I was the mechanic at that point, and it
Yeah.
wasn't fun. As far as the fleet,
Vehicles, the fleet, and plow people.
we have one full-time position technically open right at the moment.
Okay.
We have some part-timers who are filling in, so we have a butt in every seat, which is nice. So it's gonna be a lot better than last year, rather, sorry.
Truck-wise, how are you?
We have one truck that's down right at the moment, and apparently half the fleet, considering all the phone calls that I've gotten. Yeah, no, we're in good shape compared to where we were last year. So
Okay.
How's that trailer caddy working out?
great.
It is?
Yep.
So it worked out okay in the dirt? Okay.
Yep.
Saw it in action last week. It's
Yep.
cool.
Good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Picks those trailers up, wheels them across the yard.
It's amazing.
No issues. Yeah,
Okay.
it's awesome.
That's great.
Feel free to email me if you got any more questions on that stuff. If you guys think of something in the middle of the night, I know it happens to me all the time.
Thank you.
Sir,
Oh, this is great.
you guys are gonna
Thank
need
you.
your readers.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Can I take two, please? Just, we got a missing member.
Oh, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
It's just enough. You got one, you need one for yourself, or you good?
So I am going to go over the increases in the budget for you guys. Highway, line 410, on-call bonus. Default for this year is $4,200, represents $300 per person per season. That works out to about $1.94 a day for each guy on the highway crew to be on call 24/7 for 22 weeks. Tonight's kind of an example of that. The guys, really had realistically no idea that they were going to come in tonight. Obviously, they're on call. They know if they get a call, they need to come in. We know we had rain earlier. Kind of weather was saying that we were supposed to be warm. I was out patrolling before I came in here tonight and ended up having to call the guys in. So, we are asking these guys to come in at the drop of a hat, no matter what they're doing. Obviously, they know what they signed up for when they signed up for it, but it is nice if they can buy more than a coffee per day for being on call. So we're looking to up that line to $35,000. It's a $3,800 increase over default. That represents $2,500 per person per season. Like I just said, in my opinion, it's a long overdue increase for the highway department for what we're asking them to do. Anything on that?
By season, do you mean just the winter or the 4 different seasons of the year?
For the plow season.
Okay,
Yeah.
just plow season.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, my budget kind of has to go through 2 years, unfortunately. It would be easier if we didn't do it that way, but, yeah, per plow season, so.
If you had to make a call between paying the people better or buying new equipment, which way would you lean? I know it's a tough question, but
Better equipment keeps them in a better mood when they're out plowing snow for 48 hours straight. Money in their pocket also keeps them in a better mood. Again, we did get that $3 an hour raise last year, and that really did boost morale down at the shop, really helped us fill positions. This being part of the budget, whether or not the budget's gonna pass, I don't know. I would prefer to have new equipment. Really keep the cost down overall on the budget side rather than just kind of one benefit here. There's multiple benefits of having newer equipment. Highway 422A CDL licensing. This is a new line. As you can see, it's not going to be default. $5,500 represents the cost of one person to get their CDL. This is a kind of a agreement we set up with the Board of Selectmen. The fire department has training. that they do for paramedic stuff. And those people sign a contract with the town that they're gonna stay on for a couple years if the town reimburses, or if the town pays for their certification. So this is kind of the same thing. Really, I stressed this to the Board of Selectmen when we kind of developed that agreement, that this should and will be used for the right candidate. We're not just gonna be hiring whoever without a CDL that doesn't have any ambition to really complete this, and they're not gonna just get their CDL and say see you later, bye on us. So hopefully it's not something we have to use every year. But at the time we were really short-staffed. We had a part-timer who helped us out last winter without a CDL, and we got this agreement together, and we were able to get him out, get him his CDL, and he's worked out really great for us. So he's definitely an example of who that right person is. So that's definitely something I would like to stick with.
What equipment requires a CDL?
Sorry, what'd you say?
What equipment requires the use of the
All
CDL?
our plow trucks.
Okay.
Yep. Highway 428, software support. This was something that we talked about last year. Wasn't in the budget last year, so it's another new line, $10,000. This represents a proposed asset management software for the highway department. It's going to improve our efficiency and the way the highway department operates. This is going to allow us to make work orders. Going to allow us to keep track of inventory as far as parts, as far as signs, as far as culverts, concrete blocks that we stock. Just kind of really making the highway department run more efficient than it does now. So we're going to be able to keep track of all the vehicle maintenance across the board for the town as a whole. Police and fire will have in our system. All of our highway equipment, transfer station equipment, the code enforcement truck, when we do the services on that, we'll make sure to keep all those records. So it is a benefit on that end for the whole town as much as it is for us. The roadwork side of stuff, we'll be able to go in, grade all of our roads, as far as what kind of shape they're in, red, green, yellow, 1, 2, 3, 4, however we end up doing it. That'll help us when it comes to that warrant article for road maintenance and reconstruction that you guys saw earlier. We'll be able to get a better idea. Pretty easy, we'll be able to pull up a report for you guys at the Board of Selectmen and say, hey, these are all the roads that are red. This is what I want this money to go to. Rather than me just kind of saying it to you guys, you'll have something physically in front of you. So that will be nice. As far as the signs go, highway department will be able to go out around and mark all the signs wherever those are on that map. So say I send a couple guys out on patrol to just go around town and check for low-hanging branches, look at signs, just double check stuff, and they see a sign post that maybe the sign's gone, or it's tipped over, the sign's gone, or completely tore up so we can't see what it is. They can go out onto their software, and everybody will have access to that on their phone or iPads in the 1-tons, similar to what the ambulances have right now. So they'll be able to look at that and say, oh, this was supposed to be a 30-mile-an-hour sign, or this was supposed to be a yield sign. And then from there, they'll be out on the road, they'll be able to go into inventory, check to see if we have that sign in inventory, and go back to the shop, get it, come back out and replace it. If they don't, we don't have it in inventory, they can make a work order, and then the administrative assistant or myself can order that sign up and put it towards that work order, say this sign is for this, and then when it shows up, the guys can go out in the sign shed, get it, go out, put it up. So there is quite a bit of benefit from this. So that's where we're at there. There's probably a bunch of stuff that I'm not, not coming up with on that, but that's a real quick rundown on it.
So this, this theoretically should save money for the town, correct?
I can't put a dollar amount on how much money it would save us. I can tell you that it's gonna allow us to do more general road maintenance in town.
It would help to sell it to us and the taxpayers if you could put a swag on it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Board of Selectmen kind of wanted the same thing. It's really hard whether or not I could say you could get major projects are going to be major projects. They're not, this isn't going to help with that. It's going to be all the little stuff that's going to add up over time, like those signs. There's a layer on that map for culvert software, it's culvert mapping. So we can do inspections on culverts and say, this culvert was good, just replaced in 2016, it's good shape, headers are in good shape, it's free and clear. Then others that are maybe red, we can say, hey, this one's metal, it hasn't been replaced in the last 20 years, it's clogged, we need to go flush it out or we need to replace it. So keeping up on that maintenance every year of culverts, and ones that are kind of yellow, go out and look at those more often, and maybe we can catch a culvert before it fails and washes a road away. So that would pay for itself.
Correct.
If we have anything major like that.
And likewise, you're gonna keep less inventory of some of these items sitting around because,
It'll be nicer to see what we have, and some things shouldn't get lost like that. Maybe there's a yield sign tucked away and stop signs where it's not supposed to be, or
Yep.
whatever the case may be. So there will be a savings there. Parts for trucks, brakes. We say, oh, we got 3 sets of brakes up there. I don't need to order any right now. But
Is this a 10,000 annual recurring cost, or is there a front-load cost here?
so there is a front load cost and there is a reoccurring cost.
Subscription?
Yeah, this is just a budget number right at the moment. We did put it out to bid last year, and that's kind of where we were sitting. I know the prices have increased a little bit.
Do you happen to know what the subscription cost is in following years? Off the top,
So
just generally?
the ones that I saw, they stayed the same price for 3 years. You kind of get a contract going with them.
Oh. So at around 10 per year for 3 years?
So the reoccurring cost is a little bit cheaper than that.
Okay.
I just put some money in there for that initial startup cost for us.
Okay.
Jason, who's setting up the database and the data entry on the inventory and just the whole system?
So there is about like a 5-hour class and or setup time that they go through with you, and they'll make work orders on a template how you want them, so go through with you and do that. They can take any spreadsheets that we have of road mapping, the grades that they're in, and they can put that into the software. A lot of the culvert stuff would be us going out and manually inputting.
Allocating hours?
Yep. And then the street sign stuff would be all us putting that stuff in.
How much time do you think would be necessary to get the database up and running and then managing that? Because you would have to add those hours to somebody's time, right?
Yeah, I think realistically to get everything up to 100% as far as every single culvert in town, every single sign in town, if you just sent a couple people out once a week or so, we'd probably get it done in a year.
Is that like once a week for 2 hours, 3 hours? I'm just thinking about payroll costs and wages.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be something that they would do on their regular patrols. So these guys are still looking at culverts and looking at signs and doing all that stuff regularly. So there would just be a little bit of added time in them inputting that stuff.
I see. And would that also include the fuel and salt inventory?
So we already have a system for the fuel pumps, so that stuff's kind of taken care of. And then the salt shed is, it's marked out with paint at 10-foot intervals. So we know that 10 feet's about 100 tons of salt. So that's pretty self-explanatory there. We don't weigh trucks as they go out right at the moment to kind of say, hey, we used this much per ton per storm. It's kind of the measurement there. So it gets us pretty accurate, but not 100%. So that salt, I might be able to find a way to work that in there if we get into this and talk to these people about it. But right now, I don't know.
Thank you. It's a pretty expensive commodity.
It is. I think it's worth it compared to the way we're doing it. If we're having consistent issues somewhere, that it might be a small issue, and I send 4 or 5 different people out to do that, and I don't think of it, they don't think of it, hey, I've been here, I was just here 6 weeks ago, or something like that. We can go back and kind of map out, hey, there's really something going on here, there's really something wrong, we better figure out exactly what the issue is compared to whatever, maybe we're just band-aiding it, it's not really fixing the issue. So there's another benefit to where we might save taxpayers' money there, instead of just putting a Band-Aid on, putting a Band-Aid on, putting a Band-Aid on. Hey, we're having some really big issues here, let's fix it, be done with it.
Thank you.
Highway 430 photocopier services, default's $50. The department was in need of a new copier. Your existing one broke. It was a hand-me-down years ago from, I believe, the fire department. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. So, gonna increase that line up to $1,500, $1,450 increase. Represents the contracted cost for the department's new copier services.
That could drop down next year, back down to 50, or does it have to stay there?
That's staying there.
That's a service.
Yep. Highway 436, drug alcohol testing, medical cards, default $1,600. This is to keep the department in compliance with all federal regulations as far as drug testing for CDLs. So we proposed increase to $2,000. It's a $400 increase over default. Increase represents the uptick in cost of the department for this service. Shop supplies for Highway 446. Default $20,000. These supplies range from brake parts cleaner, speedy dry, all the paper products that we use, any real consumable in between then. So we propose to increase this to $22,000. That's a $2,000 increase over default. It's just due to the rising cost of the supplies that we use. Highway 447 chainsaw supplies. Right now default $750. We use this for bar and chain oil, mix oil, chains, files, and occasionally new chainsaws when we need to upgrade. Proposing to up this to $1,000, $250 increase. Increase is due to rising costs of supplies and chainsaws. We can't go out and buy a new chainsaw right now at the moment for less than $750. So that's the reason. Highway 448 communications equipment, defaults $14.95. This is traditionally been used for weather forecasting service that we have. $2,000 is what we're proposing, so $505 increase. increase is due to rising costs of the service.
What's the communication equipment?
That is the line that this stuff gets paid for with. It's been like that for the last 2 years since I've taken over. So that's where we're at with that. I know it doesn't exactly mesh there.
Like a radar subscription or?
Yep, so it's a weather forecasting service that we use. It's called Precision Weather Forecasting. They kind of pinpoint the town of Ware for us. They pinpoint all the other towns that they provide this service for. They provide every 6 hours they provide a forecast for us of what's actually going on in the town of Ware, road temperatures.
How'd they do today?
They did pretty good.
Good. It's worth it, it's worth it.
So does that help you time for when you need people out on the streets?
Exactly, it does. So they have a meteorologist on call 24/7, 365 days a year. We don't necessarily use it in the summer, but in the wintertime, we can call. And so say we're questioning whether or not to send the guys out for their final cleanup pass. So I can call those guys and say, hey, it looks clear. I see some spots on the radar. What's going on? They can say, hey, you know what? Looks like we're going to have something blow in on the back end for a half an hour or so. So at that $2,000, that's going to pay for itself 3-4 times over if we end up sending guys out and they get halfway done their round and they've put 100 tons of salt out and we have to go back and redo it. So that's kind of what this service really provides us, is kind of a peace of mind that it's not something that we depend on all the time, but there is those times that we do question what's happening down there at the end of the storm.
Information you can't get from the local weather station?
So it's kind of a 6-hour forecast, and they kind of give you a heads up on stuff down there
That's
in
what
the
they do.
yellow.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. They give you live updates. So there's that 6-hour kind of forecast, and they wait a couple days. They only give you a couple days in advance on the weather patterns, just because they keep it pretty accurate that way.
Yeah.
It's not like kind of the news that's predicting it
What do they say?
a week or so out, saying that you're gonna get 6-8 inches, and we end up getting like 2.
Thursday's too far out in the future?
So I have a special note here at the bottom of that last forecast that I showed you, just with some information on Thursday, but tomorrow I'll know better, which is nice.
Want to share it with
Can we get an email from you?
Snow, unfortunately.
Yes.
Is this an annual subscription price for
It is.
that? Okay.
It is, yeah.
And so could you possibly call them in the summertime if we're having like strong,
Yeah, so we pay for the whole year. So they do give us a forecast even in the summer months. So it does help in those whatever freak storms we may get in the summer, monsoons, whatever the big rains like we've been having.
Does this help at all when we're having lack of rain? Does it kind of give you a heads up more so than what the fire department sees? Does it give you any of that? Because it'll tell you, like, on my phone, it'll tell you precipitation, humidity, dew points, but yours must be more advanced than that.
It gives us all that. It gives us, it goes right down to road temps for us. Wind, speeds, what direction it's coming from, precipitation, how much you're gonna get. There's daily forecasts, and they have a weekly forecast, but it's just not in as much detail as what you guys just saw. the radar for New England, as well as radar just around us where we're at.
Nice.
Yep.
Are these contracts negotiated annually, or is there a way to lock in that price over a period of 3 to 5 years?
This one is not a contract.
I see.
Yep.
Did you make it into a contract?
I have not looked into that. Highway 449 gravel road maintenance, default is 14,797. This line's mostly used for calcium dust control, and stone for mud season on dirt roads. I'd like to increase that to $15,000, it's $203 increase. The department has recently switched to liquid calcium rather than flake calcium. And I believe that original number that got put into the budget a few years back, that was actually a quote that the last DPW director had gotten for the equipment to spread liquid calcium. So I was just really just cleaning up the budget as far as what the numbers look like for me. Highway 452, sand and salt, default budget is going to be $223,000. Proposed $227,700. It's a $4,700 increase. This increase represents an estimated 3,000 tons of salt at state bid $75.90 per ton. At the beginning of every year, typically the vendor that gets state bid sends us out an email with a estimate sheet on how much we think we're going to use salt that year, so they know what to order, what they need on hand to keep up with their customers, their supplies. So that's typically the number that we give them every year.
So it's a higher price? Same capacity, same quantity, higher price?
Yeah, compared to a couple years ago when the budget did pass.
Because you're on default.
Yeah, yeah. So the price was $76.90 last year. It's gone down from last year, but that default number is from '23, I believe.
If for some reason we got a lot of snow this year and you exceeded that amount, is the price per ton going to go up? Is there a penalty cost to that or not?
No, that's state bid, so that's gonna be, that's good until the end of next October.
Okay.
Highway 458, knotweed control, defaults 7,500. This line's traditionally been used for spraying of knotweed around town. Proposed, we're gonna go 9,500, it's $2,000 increase. It's due to an increase in cost as well as an increase in just the spread that we've had recently. Invasive species, they're tough. They are tough.
What does it look like?
It's like bamboo.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
The state takes care of the state highways, right? And you
They
take care
do.
of
The state
town.
takes care of 114. I know there was a pretty good chunk of it on 77 earlier this year. So
Terrible
It's
stuff.
bad.
it's awful. Yeah. Yeah. There's a few ways you can deal with it. Spraying is the easiest, as well as the most cost effective for us. The other way that you can take care of it is digging it up and burying it in place, but you have to go at least 5 feet down, and most of it's right on our road infrastructure. So
in the Granite State.
digging a 5-foot hole right next to our roads is not something that's practical for us. So that is it on highway. If there's anything that you want to go over on that, feel free to let me know. Good there?
Yep.
Transfer station, line 467, on-call bonus. This is the same as the highway stuff. There's 2 full-timers up there, so that 300 per person equals that 600 default. You bring that up to 5,000, it's a $4,400 increase. Transfer station guys do get called in for snow. Typically, it doesn't happen as often as highway, but it does happen. They need to have the road cleaned up and the walkways cleaned up through there before the transfer station is open in the morning. So there is quite a few times that they're in at 5 o'clock getting stuff ready compared to their normal 7:15. So. Highway 476, building maintenance, default's $1,000. Looking to increase that by $1,000 up to $2,000. Increase is due to the aging transfer station and all the other sort of outbuildings we have. This does include the railing around the paper trailer. That wood and stuff like that kind of gets lumped in with building maintenance. So as we get into repairs on that stuff and repairs on the building, we got a new baler there a couple years ago. We had to rebuild the back of the cardboard shed, cardboard baler shed there, so that's where some money went, building maintenance. We did do some improvements in the office as well, so that money comes out of there. And $1,000 nowadays to get anything done is pretty skinny, so that's the increase there. Transfer station 481 NRRA dues. Default was 683. We're looking to increase that to 738, so a $55 increase, 3% increase in price. I spoke with somebody from NRRA and asked them where we were going to be in the coming years, and I was told that they were going to increase this 3% this year, and next year they're not looking at an increase, so take that with a grain of salt, but that's where we're at there. Now NRRA, for the few of you that don't know who they are, they're kind of a separate entity that they go out to a lot of the vendors that we sell our recyclables to, and they kind of work with them to get the best prices around. So we go through them to get those better prices, and these are the dues that we pay them per year for what they do for us. Transfer station 482, trash hauling. Default budget's $35,100. Now this is a contracted service. Contract was up this year. It just recently went out to bid. Sizemore was awarded the bid. So the proposed budget is $37,180. It's a $2,080 increase. Estimated 110 trips for hauling trash at $338 per trip.
Jason, are you hauling to Pennacook?
Wheelabrator.
Okay.
Yep. So this kind of ties in with that trash. Line 484, Wheelabrator. Default is $191,945. This is where all of our municipal trash is taken. That's all the stuff that gets thrown in the hopper in the main building at the transfer station. It's then burned down there to make power. So in 22, the price per ton $75.45. We are up to $95 per ton. Right at the moment, we are in a kind of a co-op. It's contracted. Last year was $90. It's going to go up $5 every year for the next couple years. So unfortunately, we do have a large jump transfer station for this. We got an estimated 200 tons per month at that $95 per ton, brings us to 228,000. It's a $36,000 increase.
I know that they're giving you an increase every year, but what are they doing for it? Are they doing something to the landfill? What's going on over there? Generally, when they decide to give you an increase, there has to be a reason, and when they start saying we're gonna do X amount per ton every year, it's to do something to the landfill, or they're doing something inside
Yep.
the incinerator, so what is the reasoning?
So I'm not part of the co-op kind of negotiations that happened with them. It happened before me.
Right, but
Per
they
se.
should still give you that explanation.
So what I can tell you is because we're in this contract, we're not paying upwards of $120. So that's kind of what they said. We got contracted people. Your price is going to increase this. So jump in on this contract, or who knows what it is going over the scale without a contract.
So are we under contract right now or not?
So we are in part of that co-op contract, so we're at 95 per ton. It's gonna go up, I believe the cap 27, I think is the last year. I think they're gonna cap it at like 105, is what number that I heard.
They have a meeting at least once a year,
They do,
and who goes to that meeting?
couldn't tell you.
Somebody from our town should be going to that meeting to find out what's going on with them.
Yep.
Is there another alternative?
No, they're the best alternative we've got.
Well, electricity rates have gone up since 2022, and if they're burning the trash to make power, they should have an increased revenue, I would imagine.
Well, that's why I'd be asking the question at that meeting, because our only other option, I did this in Dunbarton, would be Casella. There's not a lot of options, but there are explanations for it. And I'm not blaming Jason for this, but
Right.
their annual meeting is where you ask all those questions and say, what are you doing to start figuring this out, so like people like us can have a better understanding of it.
And there's no one close to that cost?
There's no one that we're gonna get a better
No, you
price
have
through.
to, you're gonna truck it out either way farther out,
Okay.
or you're gonna take it down to Massachusetts, and it's just very, very expensive.
Yeah,
We've
that,
already taken 50% of mass trash.
taking a further trip, you'll see it, in a couple more slides here. It increases our trucking costs, so.
Okay, thank you.
Transfer station 486 hauling metals, default 18,850. Again, this is for the contractor to haul our metal to the facility. So 58 trips a year is what we estimate at $338 per trip, brings us to the 19,604. It's a $754 increase.
What are we seeing, and you may not know this tonight, what are we making on metal?
This year we've brought in year to date about $58,000 in total, and 2/3 of that is from steel, light iron.
Thank you.
Does that go into your
That goes in the special revenue
special
fund.
revenue
Yep.
fund? So this is we're making more than this, so, yeah.
So can I ask, this is a very, perhaps, stupid question, because I don't understand. So with the wheelabrator, is that, yeah, the cost of that line, is that something that could be done internally to the town, or we could create our own and then use that as energy production? And save that money ourselves? Because I'm thinking, $250,000 close to that a year, you know, you add that up over 5 years, if this is $1 million project, why wouldn't we do that ourselves?
You'd have to build an entire
It's-
facility with
Yeah,
insurance. You'd
it's-
have to have
Exactly,
the
that's, what would
EPA.
that look like?
We
Could be
don't have
several
that
million.
millions of dollars to do that, and then you're gonna have constant inspections, and you've
But
gotta
if
have
we're
some.
paying that already, like
Not-
over time, is kind of my
We
point.
couldn't
like,
begin to
Yeah.
fund this.
This is an off-the-rail topic. I think we're going
Okay.
a little too
Different
far.
question
Got
for
it. So
Jason.
that's what I mean. I'm like, let me just throw this out because I have no
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
what this
yeah.
process looks like, but just looking at money.
Yeah, we're not gonna solve that right now.
2,500 tons of trash a year to deal with. You, to have any sort of facility like that, I don't know what the permitting and,
That's a big deal.
yeah.
I see.
Contamination.
It could be something that when we get to that kind of CIP stuff that I was talking about, that could be looked into eventually, but, yeah, as far as the budget goes.
Yeah.
Got it.
So hauling paper, default $5,175. Again, this is part of that contract with Sizemore. Estimated 9 trips at $595 a trip. Brings us $5,355. It's a $180 increase on the year.
And what do we make on paper?
The market fluctuates. Sometimes we pay, sometimes we get money, sometimes it's free to get rid of it.
Today?
It's been all over.
Okay.
It's been free this year. We've had to pay for it, and we've gotten money from it. So it is really a daily thing. And that, again, that trailer only goes out, you know, once every 10 weeks or so.
Right.
Or once every 5 weeks, rather. Transfer station shop supplies, $489. Default's $250. This is the same as the highway department as far as supplies go. Brake parts cleaner, speedy dry, paper products, everything that's kind of a consumable up at the transfer station. We're looking to increase that to $1,000. Last 4 years, the transfer station has spent that amount of money up there, so we're just trying to get the budget to a realistic number of what they actually need. Transfer station, $490, fuel surcharge and wait time. Again, this is another big hit as far as the transfer station and increase in the budget. Default's $5,849. The proposed is $14,960. It's a $9,111 increase. So the fuel surcharge is part of a contracted service that we have. Price of fuel goes up over $4.50. We're paying, I think $12.50 extra per load. And then the wait time has to do with trucking as well. If a trailer isn't ready when we say it's ready, maybe it's got a flat tire, and the trucking company has to come over to the shop and we have to replace a tire, or if we had to air that tire up, or just anything's wrong with the trailer after we've called them and it's not ready to go, they will charge us a wait time. Some of the facilities that we are hauling to have, in the last year or so, they're short-staffed just like everybody else. They're having issues as far as making things run smoothly. So we have seen an increase in wait times at those facilities. So that's,
Because they're short-staffed?
unfortunately, that's kind of the way it's going.
I mean, this has gone on a curve,
This-
45-degree curve over the past 5 years.
Yeah, so it has to do with the facility, but this isn't a bill from the facility, it's a bill from the hauler. So the hauler's not really in control of this, we're not really in control of it.
We pay for it.
It's kind of a unfortunate cost of doing business at the moment.
Also that when you call them, what time you're sending them to haul too, because if you're going to Wheelabrator, there's times where it's real busy that you shouldn't be taking it up, and it's all timing.
Yeah, so we have seen an increase at Wheelabrator. We've seen a few wait times over in Bradford where we dump demo. There is sometimes where we can kind of set up for send it over when they're not going to be so busy, but it doesn't happen all the time. If we have a full trailer, we need to get it out. We only have 2 of them, so we can't have both of them full at once. We do, in the contract, the contractor has 72 hours notice from us before he hauls. So, I will say they're very good. They don't need that 72 hours all the time. Most of the time we give them a day, and they're pretty good to work with us on that. So it's unfortunate that we have to increase this, but right now it's just the way of the world.
It's a big one.
Transfer station 496 monitoring wells. Default budget for this is $8,570. Proposed is $9,000. It's a $430 increase. This line is traditionally used for landfill testing. There is monitoring wells all around the landfill. They get tested every year as water tests to make sure that everything's staying contained in the landfill. Due to the new maintenance program that DPW has put in place for the landfill, there is a small increase to this line. As most of you are aware, we did have a failure on the landfill. We've been working for the last couple of years to get that straightened out. DPW has put into place some extra monitoring procedures to make sure that we might be able to mitigate this issue going forward. So that's where that short increase is there.
Did that landfill cap get installed already, or?
Negative.
Still waiting on it?
DES has our permit. It's been approved. We are working with the contractor to get out there and get that done. We did have a little hang up with the Board of Selectmen on trying to get that stuff through this year. So time
On
will
its way,
tell.
though.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Transfer station 498 trailers. $2,500 is the default. We proposed $3,000. It's $500 increase. Increase due to the rising costs. This $3,000 covers one set of skid steer tires for us. We just had to replace those, and they were $3,000. So realistically, that's what we need at least up at the transfer station to make things go up there. Transfer station 501 hazardous waste day. Default budget is $7,000. We're looking to increase that to $15,000, $8,000 increase. This line is used to set up household hazardous waste day at DPW. I don't know if any of you guys have attended any of the household hazardous waste events. But typically we take the first 2 bays at the highway department. Those are the mechanics bays traditionally for us. We clear out the vehicles in there. The vendor comes in, sets up on one side. We send traffic up and around the DPW garage. They stop at Bay 8. The vendor collects household hazardous waste from people, puts it in their receptacles, and then the folks can go right across the street and do the regular stuff at the transfer station. It's typically held on a Saturday, just so everybody gets a fair shake at it. That $7,000 though, we always run short. We hope to advertise it from 8, 9 o'clock to noon, but we always ended up going from 8 to 10 o'clock. We never get there. And there is always some people who are upset about that, which is completely understandable. So this really is something that taxpayers want in this town. Whether or not they are voting taxpayers, I don't know. But realistically, this is a service that they want.
Get a vote?
The complaining path.
So that's it on the transfer station. Is there anything that you guys want to go over on that?
Good.
We'll jump to sewer, 512, pump tanks. Default's $3,000, proposed is $4,500, it's $1,500 increase. There has been an increase in cost for pumping the tanks, and that gets done once every 2 years. Seminars and training, 513 for sewer. Default's 170. We're proposed to go up to 200. It's a $30 increase. The sewer commissioner is required to continue some professional development. So this will help with that cost. You need 20 hours of technical credits to keep up your license every 2 years. So that's going to be where that money goes. Sewer, 514, mowing, default's $800, $975 is the proposed. It's a $175 increase. This increase is for the actual cost of the mowing that's done on the leach field in the center of town, right by the school. I don't know if you guys are familiar with where the pump station is. George Moody Road. There's a small brick building right on the side of 114. That's where the pump station is for the septic sewer in town. Water treatment, water distribution and treatment, 523 training. Default's $1. We're going to bring it up to $50. $49 increase. Just like the wastewater license for sewer, your water treatment and distribution license, you need to continue professional development. And then that price is going to be what you need there. That one's about 10 hours every 2 years. There is some overlap as far as DES is concerned. I can take, I believe, 5 or 10 of my hours from water, and that will count towards wastewater.
How was the training being covered before? Was that something that they were just covering by their personal selves, or?
So the last DPW director had these licenses, and when he left, there was no DPW director. There's nobody with a license at the town, so we had to take this stuff, water and sewer, and hire it out.
Okay.
To another person. So with the budget, we went ahead and took this training line and put it down to $1 just to keep it in the budget. And somebody with that license out of the highway department now. So we are good to bring this back up to where we need it to be.
Thank you.
That's all you got from me. Again, my email, if you think of anything, feel free. Call the highway department, come on down, whatever you want. We're always there, unless it's snowing.
Or icy.
All right,
Or
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Good.
No, all those, Jason, it seems like each year, if you don't get your proposed budget approved, each year you get these more line items that say, well, we need an increased cost, because the default is based now on 2 years ago.
Exactly, and that's the biggest
Not last year.
problem.
Last year they didn't get, 2 years ago, they got the proposed budget went through.
Yeah.
But that's your baseline now, so last year, that's the default, so now you're starting to say, well, we could get better last year, now we gotta identify it, we gotta,
Yeah.
throw some more coin at this and this and this, so,
That's the biggest problem
Yep.
with the wheelbrader stuff.
well,
and
all
the-
of it.
And the wait time. I
Parts,
mean,
everything.
Yeah.
The whole, when you went through this whole thing, how many times did you have to identify, well, it's a price increase, it's a price
Yeah.
increase, because now it's showing up as a bigger margin to the default.
yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of the way it works with the budget. If we don't get it for a couple of years, it looks like there's a really big jump.
Yeah,
If we had increased that every year, it wouldn't be so much to swallow all at once. But that's kind of just the way it works.
Are your CIP forms that you fill out, that you gave me copies the other night, are they
did.
online somewhere? So I don't have to make 11 copies for everybody?
I don't believe so. I can email them.
Yeah,
to your email.
If you could, I'll just send them out, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you gave them to me, but I thought you'd have copies
Yeah.
tonight, so I didn't make copies. But email would be cheaper.
Yeah.
We don't want to blow that photocopier out of the water already. So I'll get them from him, so no. So every CIP request, the police chief handed out a bunch of them, right? Jason has the same thing, so they're just an official form of request. Gives you a little more detail.
Yeah. So that PowerPoint had some future equipment that wasn't, like the roadside mower was, part of that equipment slide that I sent you, but that doesn't have the reoccurring like the other projects as far as, an excavator or a grader on it, because that's not roadside mowing
Right,
on a CIP request, so
yeah,
I can send you over that PowerPoint too.
Yeah, that'd be
so
great, too.
You guys can
yeah,
check that out.
that's handy. Yeah,
Anything else?
thank you.
Perfect.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Get some sleep tonight.
I'm gonna go see what kind of shape my fleet's in.
Tom, why didn't CIP, because they're planning, or?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lori asked why CIP didn't come to us. So CIP subcommittee was not formed this year. Planning department absorbed it. It's always been a subcommittee of planning,
Okay.
but they didn't source it out to a subcommittee. And so they just produced a spreadsheet with the CIP request. They voted on it. So the usual presentation wasn't, as far as I know, wasn't put together.
Okay.
So I can ask about that, what they want to do in the future.
Oh.
It's a change.
Yeah.
And yeah, we would usually spend one night, the
Just on that.
CIP committee would just present to us all the CIP, and then we would hear from, more detail from the department heads who put them together, so. Some of the CIP information that we've gotten in the past that's been nice was like the chief's 5-year plan or 10-year plan.
Looking out in the
And there's a
future.
town, yeah, there's a master plan for requests that includes all town for like 10, maybe 10, 15 years going out, and you know when an ambulance is
even
coming.
identifies, yeah,
Right,
fire truck,
Right.
yeah, so you can see that, hey, are we gonna have enough money for, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And why don't we have money in reserves or able to pay for like things like the vehicle?
We-
Is
we have some funds
Some
for
do.
that, but
The fire, like the fire trucks. they
Fire
have a
department has
special
their own.
Fund for ambulance payments come in, like when they talk about $1 million fire truck, when you see when fire comes in to present, it's probably gonna come out of that fund and be fully funded by the time they go to buy it.
right, there's a, I emailed out the sheet that had all the funds on it, I don't know if you saw that. Some of them are specific to fire, some of them for PD. So police department does have a fund, which they're pulling from to help offset some of the cost of the police car, but they don't have enough to pay for it all. And they get money from, like you said, Clough Park patrols, and then details and things like that, and they can use it on vehicles and maintenance, but they don't have enough to pay for a whole vehicle.
Highway, if they buy a truck 1 year, but it doesn't quite, the money gets appropriated, but then the cost may be, if it comes out a little less, it gets dumped in. And then, as that may accumulate up and down, when they go to buy one, they may say, well, let's offset some of it with that money.
But not all of
It'd
it.
be kinda
No,
nice to
yeah.
see that
Yeah,
plan
they
and
used to
how
have
it's
a
gonna
capital
come
reserve
and
fund, but
flow.
somebody blew it out years ago, and as a result, they're constantly having to come back to us.
So when we vote on a tax increase for a vehicle, that's a permanent tax increase, that's not gonna come down, it's not gonna be a 5-year, 2.5% increase, it's a permanent set.
it's a 1 year. When you look at some other things that they're recurring, but an item like a truck, you know, well, we buy it this year, next year, well, maybe we'll hold off a year. But, you know, I mean, we went back in, we really got behind on plow trucks because we went about
Yes.
5 years without buying a plow truck.
Okay.
Back in 2005 to
16.
2010,
yeah.
right in there, 10 to 15, somewhere in there. And
We're in a decent spot now, better than we were.
better than we
before.
were.
Better,
Same
we're
with,
not
same with,
great.
same with the police cruisers. They weren't buying, well, prior to this chief, when we were going through, you know, we had a high turnover in chiefs. We had, there was a lot of
Lawsuits, all
animosity,
kinds of
you know,
problems.
not that's up, but as a result, they had these old Dodges, I mean, these old Fords. And you talk about the Chargers not running. I mean, the Fords, you know, you were out there with horse and buggy pulling people.
Crown Vics. Yeah.
It was bad.
So no matter
That's
what
right,
it
we did
is,
have Crown Vic.
always, that's aging is the thing that's.
Picturing that on a dirt
Yeah.
road.
But, and there's a balance between putting a car in the budget to buy a new car in the operating budget every year, and maybe some years, there's other things that come up, and that, you know, you have, the town has the flexibility, if it's a warrant article, to say, maybe this year not, and we have the flexibility to say, maybe we don't recommend it. Some years, you know, we haven't even talked to the schools yet, right? The schools
Yeah,
are
but we-
80% of the taxes, right? So we have to talk to,
Right over there.
find out what, you know, there was a big teacher contract last year, for example. So
Yep.
that's why we look at the whole picture, because we could end up
Yeah.
recommending. a
And
lot,
one of the things that's important is not to get hung up on trying to identify what, you know, we shouldn't be voting for that. We should be telling the taxpayer what he can afford and what he can't. One critical thing is to identify how much it's gonna cost if you vote yes on everything. Just saying, hey, this is, now it's up to you to go in the
Just
voting booth and decide how much you want.
Because that's something the taxpayers, even though we put down it's X amount for a $300,000 home, it does not seem to translate.
That's not my problem.
No, but.
My
I
problem
mean,
is to put it
but
out
We've
there.
seen that because it's
I
come
can't,
back
I can
this
lead
year.
the horse, to water, but I can't make him drink it, as per,
So true.
there's
well,
really
last year we
not-
had, you know, I don't wanna get into, you know, I mean, we had a teacher's contract that was approved last year, and it has done wonders for retention and the ability, but personally, I said, the voters in this town aren't gonna approve that because of the amount, and you're asking for too much, and I was
And they did-
surprised.
They did approve it, now they're complaining.
Well, no, well, that, again, that's what we
Yep.
put out in
Some
our
people-
flyer.
some people
It's
are
gonna
complaining.
cost
Yeah.
X amount. This is, so you know, and it's gonna provide raises to this amount. But as long as we're identifying that information out to the voter, and we present it in
It's
a
available.
manner that says, and even, we're estimating now how much is gonna get returned to offset, you know, that's a guess. But we make the best guess we can, and when we look at the last 2 years, we're pretty good at
We were pretty close.
yeah, we were pretty close, and so, when people vote, as long as you read what we put out, I have no problem.
As long as you write the blurbs.
Well, there's things that are.
Happy to do it this year, I won't be on next year, I gotta sit out, that's your problem.
There's gonna be
We'll
hot
chase
topics,
you
though,
down.
that
Yeah.
people are gonna vote on, and not gonna care what the recommendation is.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, a lot of times, it can reach a point where, like, I just did, I sent you out something, you all get your tax bills, so you know. But when you have 8%, 8+% increase each of the last 2 years on your taxes, eventually it's gonna reach a point where some people are just gonna go and say, I'm voting no on everything. And that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame, because now there are some needs, you know, that are unbalanced, but,
It's interesting to note that the votes on the election in March went along the Finance Committee recommendations for everything except for one. So that was an interesting observation, that our recommendations carried except for one vote, except for one item. So some years it's a little different, but
Yeah.
I think it's, because we're looking at it independently
Well-
and looking at the big picture.
The last finance board committee that you guys had, how many people had kids in school on that board?
Last year,
Yep.
One,
third, maybe at most.
grandkids count?
Yeah, absolutely, I would, I just, especially if you see them a lot, but
Yeah,
I
they're
know the
next door.
trouble and the issues, just
Yeah.
hearing from my kids coming home, you know, I know that there's a huge teacher retention, there's a whole bunch of other problems, so,
Yep.
like me personally, education funding is a hot topic, and then looking online, it looked like in 2020, the amount of school tax plummeted. So we're paying even less in school funding than we were in 2020. So,
No, the budget,
That was probably,
budget
was it
went
the
up.
offset?
That was
yeah, it would be
probably
from the
co-
ESSER money.
ESSER money, COVID.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
you got
We got a
the-
lot of money from the federal
Which-
government, everybody did,
Okay.
and now it's gone,
Yeah.
Right.
and we'll see how that impacts this year.
Because this year, I mean, built into the teacher's contracts this year, I mean, if you want, if we got a second, I can, you want me
We're
to
gonna,
just?
we're gonna try to be aware of the time, just, we've been here
Yeah,
since
I know,
6:30, so.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're gonna,
Yeah, no, I can actually send out some stuff on the Ware School Board.
Yeah,
Because
that'd
they
be
could come in with what, if you go to the well, the better thing is if you go to SAU 24, and you go down to Ware School Board, and then you click on budget information, you will have all their workshop, what came out of their workshop. That's their first pass.
right,
But they're looking at a 7% increase in their operating budget.
sure.
And a default is still a 5% increase.
So you're on the Ware School District Subcommittee,
Right.
and that's something we gotta talk about now, so that's why I wanna keep it, because we got a
Go
couple of
ahead,
business items.
Go ahead.
All I would say is that if you're collecting information from talking to the school, the SAU, or going to the meetings, and you wanna share information via email,
Yeah, I can do that.
leaving out your opinion, that's for the
hard-
meetings.
Okay. I can do that, I can do
You
that.
can spout your opinion all day long in the meetings, but in
Yeah.
email, if you're sharing information, it's just factual. You can highlight
I can
things.
highlight numbers.
Sure.
Without an
Yep,
opinion.
But leave your opinion out of it. 'Cause
Okay.
it's not in the public space.
Correct.
Which is what this is, and it has to be
Yep.
done properly.
Did you get everything that Jackie sent me from my request, or do you want me to
No.
just copy what Jackie sent me so you can send it as a group to wherever?
Well, you're on the same committee I am, so you
Yeah.
can send, if she sent you information, you could
Do
send.
the same
Because
thing.
we
if you
all
want.
requested information,
Yep.
so I'll shoot it to you and
Yeah.
I'll let you,
Just keep deliberations in the meeting.
Yep.
Just share facts and information, no more than that, if you can.
Yep.
That's the right way to do it.
I'll send out the John Stark workshop
Sure.
information too.
Yep, if you got a if
It's a
they,
lot less than where, but
if they handed out stuff, then definitely you can pass it
Plus that
around.
gets shared with Henniker on the town.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
which is nice.
So, let's do some real business real here, and then we'll get adjourn, I think it's late. I'll recommend that. We've got, the three committees that we're talking about here, we've got members that haven't been assigned to a committee, so we need, 3 more people for the Town of Ware Subcommittee. Carrie and I are currently the 2 members. Ware Schools is full, and John Stark, we need 2 or 3 more people, so Kyle, Elizabeth, and John, you guys all have to decide.
Yeah, I've done John Stark before, so I'll just stay with that if that's okay.
You wanna stay on John Stark?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll go on the Town of Ware. That's,
okay,
I did John Stark
You have
before, so just switched it.
Yeah, I do the town.
okay, so we'll put Kyle and Elizabeth on the town committee. And then, so we've got, Neil was assigned already to school, so that we had a member resign, and that replacement person will probably go on to John Stark, because there's only 2 people on there, so. Okay, so that's one item of business, we had to get everybody assigned. The other thing is, minutes. Let's see if there's anything else I had to do. I talked about the moderator. Yeah, did everybody get the draft minutes from 10:22? Who was here? Okay. So I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes in draft, that are draft now, with amendments, for 10/22/2024.
motion to approve.
We just, yeah, you got the amendment with the number, the vote.
Yep. Anybody want to second the motion? We'll talk about it.
Second.
Okay.
You
I'll
First.
second.
You motioned. You approved by Jessica. All right. Does anybody have any specific changes that they'd like to run out? Bill, you made a couple of changes.
Election of officers, I had the vote wrong because there were 7 people here, and when I looked at the numbers, there were only 6 voting.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I said we missed it somewhere, so.
So,
Oh, there was, somebody abstained.
You,
on
oh,
each
no,
vote.
I
Okay.
had it that, I had like 3-2-1, and it
Okay.
should have been 4-2-1.
so this, the copy that you emailed out is incorrect?
Yes.
Okay.
I hadn't made, because I was waiting until we had
Okay.
any other
So
change.
for the chair, it was 4-2-1 instead of 3-2?
6-0 with one abstention on the vice chair,
Vice chair was 6-0-1,
and the other one should be, the next one should be 6-0 and 1.
6-0 and 1 as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna make those changes.
I'll make those changes and
Okay.
I'll,
I only have one change myself. In item 3B, you spelled Neil Kirk with an I instead of a U. Everything else looked great to me.
I did. And he's been around for a while.
You spelled it right, you spelled it correctly up top. You just, that one.
You know, I was thinking he was on a spaceship, Captain Kirk.
You and Captain Kirk.
Anybody else have any changes or questions about the minutes from 10:22? You weren't here?
And when I do them up from this meeting, I'm not going into detail, the minutia. I'm gonna
No.
explain just generally, this is who presented tonight. and
Yep.
da- da- da. So
You don't have to
shorter.
transcribe.
Yeah.
Just as long as the gist of any discussions and votes,
Okay.
votes especially.
Yeah, the assignments, I've got
Any-
those, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? I'll call a vote. Okay. All those in favor, if you weren't here, you abstain, please. All those in favor of approving the minutes from 10:22:24, say yes.
Yes.
Actually, raise your hands, please. So what do we got? 3, 4, 5, 6, all right? No? 0? Any abstentions? Yep, you weren't here, so that's 2.
I wouldn't hear
Oh, you weren't here, 3. There's 9 tonight, right? Okay, so that motion carries.
9 people, so it's
603.
603.
Yep. And you got my change. The next
Yep.
meeting is December 10th. That's a Tuesday. We're gonna hear from Fire and Parks and Rec. And then the 18th is Wednesday. That's gonna be the schools. So the 2 meetings a week apart. Superintendent Coe will come in and do Ware School and John Stark. So, and then we've got 3 dates in January, which we'll put out an email. Okay? And I got an action item to get some CIP plan information, whatever I can get from them,
Please.
if they have it. All right, any other business, questions, concerns? All right, motion to adjourn, anybody want to make the motion?
To adjourn. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody.